Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of the MinnMax Show podcast, the place about games, friends, and getting better. Your regular host, Ben Hansen. He's on paternity leave for 4 more weeks. In the meantime, I'm Kyle Bosman. I'm your guest host. This week, we are joined by Janet Garcia.
Hello.
Jenna Stoeber.
Hello.
And a first-timer, Eric Silver.
What's up?
What is up, everyone?
Yeah.
How are we all feeling?
Pretty good. So excited to be doing a podcast now.
Caffeinated. I'm ready for a new reign of terror. We had
this is a new
Kyle.
reign. Yeah. I've not hosted a podcast in over 3 years.
Whoa. So
I'm a little
shaking the
little
dust
rusty,
off?
you know?
Yeah.
Shaking some dust off. Today we have a stacked episode, though, so my job's easy. We got Pikmin 4 we're going to talk about today. Mario Kart 8, which I'm really excited to talk about. Barbie. Presumably Barbie movie, but we can talk a lot more about Barbie if we want to. And then Halls of Torment. Really excited to hear about that as well. But
we prepped for Picross. Is this the right episode?
No.
It's always the right episode.
Oh my God.
I only am thinking about Picross. I mixed up my notes. I'm so sorry.
What was crazy? So I was listening to those episodes, right? So previous 2 MinnMax shows have been about Picross. And I'm like, why aren't they finishing their puzzles? You know what I mean? Like, I presumed I'm not like a Picross guy, right? But I've finished like 9 Picross games the last 9 that come out 100%. And I'm like, why am I like, what's wrong with all these like Picross scrubs? Like, you want
a
to
loaded question. I mean, are you really ready for the answer?
Yeah. Do you mean from a Picross standpoint, or just like what our whole general deal is?
It'd be okay. So it's like to me, it sounded like if I did a podcast about like building barns, you know what I mean? And it's like, Kyle, you don't know how to like build a barn.
How is it like that?
Just the general, like, just the perception of the skill level of the MinnMax podcasters and their Picross abilities.
Okay, so
Whoa. Who said I had to be good at any of these games? Because I'll log off right now, okay? I got other things I can do.
Because no. I liked that. I like, you need the wide variety of the experience levels. You know what I mean? But hell no, we're not talking about...
You're saying that we only had the dregs. You're saying that you need a wide variety, and we only had people who were bad and uncommitted to them.
The people who are like, I know the shape of a barn. Yeah, like that level, yeah.
Games journalism, no one's actually good at games.
This is such a strange...
Okay.
No, this was the final frontier of gatekeeping,
No.
actually.
I don't want to...
Being like, do you really like these little puzzles?
Get good at Picross.
It's such a bad note to start on. Here's the thing. It's not about skill level. It's about dedication to the bit. Right? You know what I mean? It's like if like you're gonna do the thing, like you gotta. That's gotta.
And they always say that, don't they? It's always like, oh no. It's not like I'm saying you can't.
Listen, I guess I could just reveal things to myself. I could be like, wow, I so enjoyed playing an hour of Pikmin 4, and then look at this, it's a picture of a barn. I just don't get it. I'm playing video games. I know. I'm playing Halls of Torment. I'm playing Vampire Survivors. I don't have time for Picross.
Wait, so that whole bit, this whole thing, you actually did not ever play... You did not prep any Picross.
I just can't believe 2 full video game episodes were about Picross. I was joking. No,
okay, it was 1.5. It was 1.5.
Picross is fun, so I don't know what the heat is.
I like that we're now saying get good about Picross. I
guess it's like, if you're going to go, I get the sentiment. It's like, if you're going to go for it, go all the way. You wanted Deepest Dive Picross, and we gave you like what I've been playing Picross. You wanted the lore. You wanted us to like look at the apple and be like, this is me, everyone. I made 8 million of these.
I don't know how to do that with Picross. I don't.
Have you ever considered that you're the broken one and that everyone else is normal?
Oh my God, yeah.
Me, Jenna, absolutely. Or him, Kyle?
Kyle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Extremely broken. Can I be honest with you? Yeah. And we're going to talk about Pikmin 4. The impression I get about MinnMax is that it's like a very like mentally healthy community and like podcast. Okay. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
Uh-oh.
Maybe.
So So I do feel like such a strange little gremlin goblin hosting this show. You know what I mean? Like that element is
Well, you are.
Yes, exactly. I think that's this is stunt casting. I think that's why Hanson wanted me in here.
Okay.
People are a lot more leveled than I expected coming from other spaces of the internet. But I'm the least leveled person on the show, so you're in good company.
I was also worried about being incredibly unleveled on this show as a guest. I did not think I'd be able to do that. The thing that blew me away the most about Picross, and Kyle, please let me know if this transition will help you, is the little RPG elements on the Pokemon one. How it's there's 5 currencies on top of Picross, which is also how I felt weirdly about Pikmin 4. How are we putting RPG elements into the game where we throw little plant aliens at monsters?
What a life raft. Thank you, Eric Silver.
Podcast professional, I got you.
Thank you for bringing us back into Pikmin 4. Pikmin 4 is it's a big release of the week. It's the big new game, 4th in the series. Who's been enjoying Pikmin 4 on this panel?
I have, but now I'm a little scared. I'm I'm not enough days in. You know what I mean?
No, because I messed up.
I went 11 days. I'm sorry.
I acknowledge I messed up. I gotta accept that. You know what I mean? I tried a bit. It bombed. The bit bombed, and I gotta accept that. But no, that's not my true intent. That's not my true opinion. Any time spent playing Pikmin 4 is legitimate.
And a good time.
Only gatekeeping. We're only gatekeeping Picross. You can be as good as you want at Pikmin 4. That's fine. Yes, I've played 2 of the stages, the first one and then the one with all the cherry blossoms. Ooh. And I've unlocked the 3rd one I haven't played yet.
Ooh.
What would we say? All right, so Pikmin, it's weird. It's an iconic Nintendo franchise, but it doesn't live up to the popularity of the other ones. You know what I mean? It's pushed. It's heavily marketed and merchandised, right? But the Pikmin series, it's at Nintendo's B tier.
Yeah.
And I guess what's interesting about Pikmin 4 is their little summer release here. You know what I mean? And I guess what I want to start this off as is what makes Pikmin 4 a special game?
I think just how calm it is. I mean, there's a lot of calm and cozy games out there in the world, but I feel like Pikmin is one thing that stands out to me about what makes it special is that for me, it evokes a genuine passion for completionism and exploration outside of even what I get for the rewards. I'm not paying attention to anything in this game. It's a pretty straightforward game where you're kind of looking for who crash landed and you're picking up, giant objects for those who aren't familiar with the structure, and you use these little Pikmin to grab items. And, there's ways that builds that we'll get into, but that's the core of the game. And there's main missions you have and optional things like get extra treasure. But for me, I'm not looking at any of that. I don't know what I have to do, but I do know what I have to do, and I'm just going to keep going. And I think that's really rare in a game that's not a traditional action adventure or open world game. The areas are fairly small, and in that sense there's a lot of linearity to Pikmin, but because it's also slow paced and quaint and cozy, it allows you to want to kind of comb over everything in a way that I think is hard to create in such a confined space.
Yeah, I mean the puzzles, the puzzles seem to be it's gated almost like a Metrovania, It's find the different type of Pikmin and it will be revealed. Also, the puzzles are much better. I played Pikmin 1 and 2 as soon as Pikmin 4 was announced, and then Pikmin 1 and 2 were put on the Switch. So I've been comparing that feeling, and I think, Janet, what you're saying about Pikmin 4 being the apotheosis of that vibe is true, because again, as I think other Kyle said this on previous episodes, being hey, they're just pretty honest that Pikmin die all the time, and there's you're struggling with the life rebirth cycle, and then Pikmin 4 they're kind of being more chill about this and making it more human, or whatever those characters are who you're playing. It's more about people figuring it out in a tough situation instead of Olimar on his own. Also, when you're thinking about the literal fuel, so the thing you're trying to get is sparklium, which is like which is the sparkles that are on things you collect. And in the first game, you're trying not to die because Olimar only can breathe for 30 days. And in the second one, you're trying to get money because your boss is in debt to space debtors, and he has taken he has taken the means of production away from you, and you need to bail your really dumb boss out of a terrible situation. So it's like we're leaving the kind of like stark ridiculousness of like death and why we're even here away, and trying to do this like figuring it out, we're all doing this together, we're saving people. Who is this man who is also a Pikmin? It's all really interesting. They're stepping it up, especially because it also looks beautiful. It looks like Link's Awakening, the remake.
Eric, I've got a question, and this is strictly for the audience, not for me. What does apotheosis mean?
Together. It's the pinnacle, the most of it.
Okay. That's a good word.
Hell yeah, dude.
Apotheosis. But you open this by... okay, this is really fun because Janet says she doesn't feel stress. Like, she plays this game, doesn't feel stress. And like, to me, the entire point of Pikmin is anxiety, right? The stress of management, the stress of dealing with this, the stress 100%. Of having these lives in my hands. And so it's really interesting to hear it called that way, right? That in different hands, this game's chill. And I guess they intentionally tried to make it more chill, right? They tried to remove like the time elements, right? You can spend as many days in this game as you want to, which I think is pretty cool.
You literally, the thing that's most stressful is organizing your Pikmin with the terrible AI that existed on the GameCube. And now you get to jump on a big dog who will run you around. I think if that's the most stark change.
I think, too, that to me, the most stark change, I only played 3 Deluxe. The rewind mechanic.
Yeah, I haven't played 3. Yeah.
Which, like, that, and because I'm 99% sure that wasn't in 3, because I would have probably used it at some point. But and also, too, the availability of just, so the big challenge, quote unquote, in this game, besides trying to make sure that the Pikmin don't die, either through like elemental damage, like they drown or something, or an enemy eats them. Other than that, the only other challenge is having your crew together before the day ends. And you can do that very old school and do the, there's an in-game timer for like the day cycle. And it'll be like, it's nighttime soon. And you could grab all your buddies and you run back to your ship and you have to be in a little safe zone for them not to get like eaten when you fly away. But now, as long as you grab everybody and have them in your party, basically, like they're not, there's not someone 80 feet on the other side, you can just go to the menu and hit end day. And then they're like, and now you're just done. Like, you don't have to do any of that racing back at all, which I think really, like we've already mentioned, they've really cut down on the small bit of stress that was present. It's kind of optional now. Like, you could still play it that old school way if you wanted to, but you don't have to.
Go ahead.
I will say in 1 and 2, sorry, Kyle. In 1 and 2, there is like a redo the day thing, but it's really just, hey, do you want to save scum? That obvious.
Which the answer is always yes, I want to save scum. But yes, I don't know if anyone has pinned down like how the rewind exactly works. It's like every couple of minutes or something like that. It's like either 4 minutes ago or like the day.
I only did it for the caves where like I really beefed it and then I had to redo it, but it just reset to the beginning of like the stage in the cave. Also, I want to say caves came in Pikmin 2, so it was even wilder to see, like, just seeing the whole progression of this thing. Also, in Pikmin 2, it was just, like, genuinely a cave. You're like, I don't know, jump in there. And now it's, like, this, like, tube on Earth, or the same Earth that Kirby 64 was set on, where everyone died. I don't really know. I'm not really sure. But, yeah.
It's a big year for Nintendo and going underground.
Yes.
They're like, just keep digging, and you're going to get a good game.
I know.
I am curious about the times you rewinded, though. I think those are the most memorable and special moments in Pikmin, is just when a bad thing happens suddenly. Can you think of any memorable moments where you had to just suddenly, okay, I'll just rewind, I'll rewind?
I certainly can. There's something that was interesting, because this felt almost like a remake, because I made some real associations with Link's Awakening, the remake, because it looks exactly the same. And also, like, as we're talking about Barbie and everything, how everything is just IP moving forward, right? So it almost felt like this is the most modern version of Pikmin with all this wonderful quality of life stuff, and then there's some different things. But I also noticed, because I just played Pikmin 1 and 2, that like there are things from those games that are in this, and the same thing happened. There is a boss in a cave that was the same boss from one, I can't remember, I think it was Pikmin 1. And then I still died horribly the same way. That boss is crazy. Can I say what it is, or would that be a spoiler? It's like such in the beginning of the game.
Yeah, you can say, what is with a boss? Which one?
So there's one of those giant, those big dudes with the red backs with the eyes, right? Like the main Pikmin boss.
Oh, yeah.
Blorblus. So there's always one that is like so overfed and massive, and it's a big log, and then it rolls all the way to one side and swishes your Pikmin, and rolls all the way to the other side. It feels like something out of a Soulsborne game. It's terrifying, and I hate it. But and both times I died a lot, except that every time now there's a pop-up where your captain says, you lost a lot of Pikmin, and I'm like, I know.
Yeah. There's like a lot of chatter. There's a lot of radio chatter.
A lot of radio chatter, and that was kind of annoying how it felt like a 2023 game where someone like is getting in your ear being like, hey, do you need to know how to solve this puzzle? Same thing, kind of the same thing is happening here, and it's just annoying. I'm like, I know everyone died. I'm playing the game.
The trick is, I think, just throw it at its face, right? Like that thing, if you haven't played a Pikmin game to the audience, right? Like you have a cap, you have a limit to how many Pikmin you can have, right? Yeah. And like early game, you're stuck at 20, right? And you have to earn the cap going up and up. But like that thing can just roll over and wipe out 3/4 of your entire army.
All of them, yeah.
It's a weapon of mass destruction just by rolling.
So I had to restart, and then I'm like, oh, that's right, I have to do it like this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do we think this? All right, so a lot of Nintendo games have been getting a Switch bump. You know what I mean? Like they had their most successful release ever because they're on the Switch, and like the Kirby. Kirby just had its most successful game ever. Animal Crossing, most successful. Like Metroid. Do we think Pikmin 4 can like break out?
I mean, it'll probably be its most successful release. Like I feel like definitely critically and likely sales wise, just by way of having more people on the platform. But I think it'll always be in that B level. Which, to clarify, like that's not to say it's not a great game. But I think when we say Nintendo's B tier, it's not the showstoppers, right? It's not Mario Odyssey. It's not Tears of the Kingdom. It's Luigi's Mansion, Captain Toad, which are great games, and they're like kind of cult classics. Like when people say they like that B tier of Nintendo, it's like, okay, you're kind of a little bit cooler than everybody else, sort of thing. It's like a little nod to sort of their more, I don't know, just not quite as high level or high demand, but still really enjoyable. So I think it'll always be that, just because of sort of what it is. And Metroid's an interesting comparison because Metroid is like A tier in terms of quality and what a lot of diehard fans say, but it's B tier in terms of popularity, which no one wants to accept, but it's just kind of true. Like it's sort of a niche IP despite being mega popular and very beloved. But yeah, Pikmin I think will always be in that B tier. And I think that's fine.
Comparing to Metroid as well, that's how I felt. Like, I think we should just be happy that Nintendo made something. I mean, how long have we been clamoring for more X-Zero? Or FX0, right? It's like, we should just be happy that someone decided to make a new Switch game of it, even if it felt, to me, like it was almost remake-y. Especially because the tutorial of this game was like, hey, folks, you and your 5-year-old should play Pikmin together. It really felt like bringing on new people, and I was banging my head against the table during the tutorial, and I think you can tell. I think that you can tell like what is what's supposed to be like a new start for new people.
Which is insane because the game's like tough.
Yeah, it's certainly less tough because you have a big dog with RPG elements trying to fight on your behalf. And like the hardest part, like I said, about having the Pikmin run around and not die. I mean, they fixed some of that, so it's certainly less hard.
But that's actually the way you introduce the game, and I think we got to talk about it, is another reason it's not hard is the RPG elements. You can upgrade that dog. You can turn that dog into a godlike beast if you just put enough pup points into it.
Which also, can we talk? Everything in this game is so cutified. Like it's such a charming title because everything's like, oh, and then if you want to make, and I feel like too, Nintendo does a lot of sort of dog tropes. I mean, even oh my god, what's the name of this dog?
Ochi.
Ochi? Yeah, Ochi. That's just Poochie in space. You know, in the thing with the bone, like to kind of revive him or restore his health, that's what Polterpup does, but in reverse. Like you use the bone and then Polterpup can bring you back from the dead if you're Luigi in Luigi's Mansion 3, and maybe like the older ones, I don't remember. So yeah, it's interesting that they kind of, within the Nintendo universe, there's sort of like little threads of shared imagery or ideology or sort of mechanisms that spread across despite, them being different games.
Now, does that mean that PlayStation are cat people and Nintendo are dog people and Microsoft are like lizard people? Like they're the ones with the
I don't think you can say lizard people snakes anymore.
Oh, I know. I'm Jewish.
Snake people.
But maybe they like snakes. They like having snake pets.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. That feels right to me, honestly.
Nintendo planted their flag with Nintendo dogs years ago. They're clearly dog people.
What about Nintendo cats?
And everyone's playing Halo 3 matchmaking with a big snake on their shoulders. That's just what I'm imagining.
Okay, not everyone who has an Xbox is a snake person, but most people who love snakes do play on Xbox. That has to be true, right?
I mean, after Stray, obviously PlayStation are cat people. Like, we know, we get it.
Yeah. So when we talk about like trying for Pikmin 4 to like try to hit this mass appeal for it, try to be modern and relevant, like I think that's why upgrades exist there, right? Like why you have this progression, why like, oh yeah, I can get better armor for my character, you know? Do we think those add to the game? Truly?
I think the quality of life stuff was awesome. I'm so happy I don't have to deal with the terrible AI. And like, Ochi's awesome. He's a good dude.
Yeah.
I think
I was impressed by Ochi.
They're really cutting down on like the fiddliness and other gear. So like the Pikmin you get from the beginning are like ice and rock. I haven't even got blue Pikmin yet, but it doesn't matter because I can just have all my Pikmin jump on Ochi and Ochi can swim. And then you can level up the swimming. Like it's almost like they're moving the problems of Pikmin, both problems like from gameplay and problems literally like puzzles, to different parts of it to make it as easy as possible. I thought the puzzles were great. I'm like, oh, here's an electric fence. I'm probably going to get some yellow dudes later. Like it's like vaguely open world, but only in like the way, like I said, with Metroidvania, you're banging your head against a puzzle you can't do yet. I thought that was much more seamless than like, wow, this in like Pikmin 2, this whole stage is covered in water and I don't have blue Pikmin yet. I'm like, okay, I just wasted a day. I have to go save Scum now because I went to the wrong place. Like I think, although it is linear, as Janet said, I thought it was at least nice.
Ooh, another quality of life thing. They you can just tell it, like, just tell me which Pikmin to bring out.
Yeah.
You can just click auto. It's just tell me. It's like, okay, take out these 3. Like, thank you, game. I really like that too, actually.
Ochi can sniff for people and treasures now, which is literally just a line leading you. Like, I don't know.
Too, like having more of those kind of tools allows them to have more intriguing puzzles and things to do because they don't have to rely on just like, you don't have the thing yet, or you couldn't see this thing. Like even just and again, you could always not use those if you prefer a gritty, I don't know what's going on Pikmin for like, a challenge. Like, I don't know. It's just not that kind of game. Even when it is challenging, like I'm not saying the game is so easy it plays itself or anything, but the challenge is very straightforward and very achievable. So I feel like, again, everyone comes to this game and all games for different reasons, but I feel like now they're at least catering towards that sensibility that is a little bit more like, I'm just here to walk around and collect things with little dudes and pick up more little dudes. But even stuff like being able to have one of the items that you can buy is like the little drone where you can sort of survey the area and then like mark on the map. Like stuff like that's just so helpful because it, to me, while Pikmin is like a very casual puzzle game, the most frustrating aspect of puzzles is when you know what you have to do, but it just takes a long time to do it.
The worst.
Or if you fail at what you want to do, and then retrying it takes a long time. And I feel like while Pikmin's quality of life changes and its items and its RPG elements make it easier to play, like the point was figuring out what to do, not the grit that it takes to do it, I feel like. It's like, do I need to have walked all the way to this side to know that I should have walked on the other side? Or can I just throw a drone up there and just know which way to walk right away? Like, is it more fun to walk the long way, and maybe it is for you, and then you could just do that. So, but you can play to kind of both of those sensibilities.
Yeah, that was actually me. I looked at that drone and I said, like, I don't want to look ahead. I got to walk that way, you know?
Oh yeah, I haven't used the drone either. I'm 100% with you, Kyle.
Which is weird, right? That's a weird thing though, actually. Like it's there for us and they made it entirely optional, which is neat.
But I'm playing this like it's like Crusader Kings or an RTS, right? Like it's funny how we're talking about this. It's like it's a puzzle game / an RTS, and I'm like, okay, some of these dudes are gonna go here, knocking down this wall, and other you picking this stuff up. I love that I can move the base, so now they're not just running all the way across this map, and then the Pikmin who are there, who I left, will come with the base to me where I am. Like, I think it depends what kind of genre you say Pikmin is how you're trying to play the game. Do you see it as a collectathon? Do you see it as a puzzle game? Do you see it as an RTS? It's like, so I'm just out here vibing. I don't want to know what happens next. I'm just trying to accomplish things in various ways. And once I hit a brick wall or a crystal wall, as it were, then you end up seeing if how you play it the way you want to play.
One thing, I think I'm getting the vibe we all like this game. I think it's a great game. I feel like Pikmin doesn't know what's good about Pikmin. You know what I mean? I want to know if anyone on this panel like truly appreciates your space team and their dialogue. You know what I mean? Every single night they're just like, I have a little conversation to have. It's like, I don't care. I don't want to listen. Like I would, but maybe that is just me. But like, does that add anything to this game for you?
What was the game that came out last week? Jenna, I think you streamed it a bunch. The one where you take photos of the pictures. Viewfinder, right? There was a video going around where someone took one and then the dialogue said, you can change reality, and then immediately they turned off dialogue sound. Why does every game need to have Marvel movie style quippy dialogue in it? I did not like that. It doesn't have to be a joke. It doesn't. If you're not going to be funny, like, stop throwing new characters at me. And that's what stopped me for the first hour and a half. As I jammed A and B to try to get to the part where you get to play with the Pikmin. You don't get Pikmin for like an hour and a half, 2 hours. And that drove me crazy.
I will say the structure of the opening is very odd because, like, when I started streaming in this, people were like, oh, it's a really slow start. And they're like, it's too much dialogue. And I started and I'm like, this is fine. Because they start you off in like a tutorial area that's like a little house. Yeah. And then they go into like that's kind of like the prelude, and they go into the actual game, and it is very chatty. I do think, to the game's point, a lot of that chatter is more so to create additional exposition for people who want it. But I do wish they made how to skip it a little more forward-facing or just easier. I think that's a lot of people's complaints for games, especially folks who are, frankly like us, where we play a lot of games or maybe play a lot of a particular franchise. Like, there's always that joke of, Pokemon has this come up a lot, where people are always like, can there be a I played Pokemon before button, and I just zoop past everything? But, yeah, it's tough. Once I learned that I can hit plus like twice to hit skip dialogue, I was zooming through everything, and that's it. And I wish that they told me that before. And you can even skip the like cutscene loading, like when the day starts. I'm guessing you didn't know that you could skip it. Like, you can skip that. You can skip a lot. So I've just been riding the plus button and being like, I don't care about this scrub crew that's always crash landing everywhere, every mission. How have they not been defunded yet? We could be using those resources here on Earth, okay?
They have been defunded. That's why they're so bad at
yeah, maybe. It's just two pieces of aluminum foil duct taped together.
Can we talk about the prologue really quickly?
Yeah.
The wild thing about the prologue, Janet, did you remember who you're playing as?
Yeah, Olimar.
Yeah, you're playing as Olimar, and then all of a sudden, he's gone. Yeah. That felt like the most AAA RPG, like, style storytelling I'd ever seen. And I was like, why are we trying to make this Pikmin game to be a modern RPG? That's what I thought would really bother me. It's like the same where you get to, there's a trope you've probably seen all of these like listicle videos where they were like where you had all your powers and then you lost them. That's how it felt. Why did we do this to Pikmin?
That was a little too good of a voice. I'm a little scared.
Top 10 anime betrayals, number 1. Did it mean something? I didn't get it.
Did it mean something to you to be able to make your own character?
No!
I liked making my own character.
Cool. All right, good.
I like that.
How much time did you put into it?
No, only like a few minutes because it's a very minimal character creator. It's like it's like less than a me level of customization. You got like 10 skin tones, like 3 eyes. Like it's like you couldn't spend like I am the person that if you give me a big character creator, I'm in there for like an hour. This is like you'd have to like literally just filibuster to fill more than 5 minutes of time making that character.
There was a cutscene that said you're the last hope. You're the last hope here. And I'm like, why? No.
So you can emotionally buy in. It's like they don't mean anything to you. No, I'm just kidding. I get it.
That's their attempt. Yeah, they want you to emotionally buy in.
Sorry, Jenna, I didn't mean to step on you.
I've never played a Pikmin game before. It's my first Pikmin game. It was really confusing to hop in and be like, oh, okay, I'm Captain Olimar. Here's a little tutorial section. And then immediately be transformed out of that. That was so jarring from somebody who has very little Pikmin context to just hop in and be like, okay, this is the character I'm playing. I am this captain. Here's all my Pikmin. Here's my cool little dog. I'm in love with it immediately. And then I had to watch all of that disappear like grains through an hourglass. And I was not wowed. I struggle in general with the like aesthetic style of Pikmin, which is why I've never really gotten into it. And so part of me was like, I'd be fine just playing Olimar. I don't know why you make me make a little character with such basic options. This is almost worse than nothing. I appreciate it in a really basic kind of way, but it was kind of a jarring start to this as a franchise.
Jenna, I'm so sorry. We had this whole conversation up to this point. I did not know you also were playing this game.
Yeah.
So what pulled you into Pikmin 4 when you were hard out on the franchise up till this point?
I've been so apathetic towards Pikmin is the thing is like I've never really understood it or what the vibes are, so it's not like I wasn't willing to play it. But boy, Kyle Hilliard just will not shut up about Pikmin 4 and how much he's enjoying Pikmin 4 and how much he wants to.
So that's what made you pick it up?
Yeah, that and I got a code. I would never have put down money for it. All right. Yeah, and it's all. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like this is like it's. Obviously not the biggest Nintendo franchise, as you've mentioned, but it is like a noteworthy Nintendo franchise that they keep bringing back. They care enough and are invested enough in it as a franchise to make a fourth one, even when there are other bigger franchises that have not gotten this treatment. So it seemed worthwhile to dig into it and to give it a try and to learn what even the gameplay is, just so that I better understand the gamers around me that I care about, which is all of you.
Yeah, so that's what I'm curious about. So like, let's say you plucked your first Pikmin. Was that novel?
It was in a real visceral way, yes, because like the plonk sound it makes when you pop them out is really satisfying, and it's such a quick motion. Like when the spaceship onion tomato thing plonks out like 10 Pikmin, and you go bloop, 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 like. It's pretty satisfying. I do find the Pikmin so eerie. They all look like Lemon Grab, and I realize that's because Lemon Grab from Adventure Time probably was based on a Pikmin. Yeah. But it's hard for me to not be like, I have an army of horrible little dudes that want to clamor on monsters and like pick their flesh apart to kill them, I guess.
And then carry their bodies over to the ship. That's always a little bit eerie. How much did you know about this before going in then?
I could recognize the Pikmin if I saw them, but I didn't have a good sense. I didn't know that you all were aliens. I didn't have a good sense of what the actual gameplay of it was. And I was very curious how that would work from, I guess, like an RTS standpoint is a good way of describing it, where it is just like you've got a horde. And I think it's remarkable how well Nintendo has programmed it and programmed these little AIs to do what it knows that you want to be done, because it has structured the game like, here's a bunch of sap. If you shoot a bunch of Pikmin at it, the Pikmin will eat from the sap. And the fact that it will shoot out the Pikmin that need to be leveled or healed, I don't know what it's considered.
That's like a little buff.
Yeah. The fact that it sends out the ones that don't have flowers in order to get that to happen automatically, and I don't have to fuss with that, is, I think, a really thoughtful design. Like, I think it has a very thoughtful design overall. I hate the aesthetics, but I'm really into the gameplay.
Can I tell you when it wasn't thoughtful? Pikmin 1 and 2.
Well, I'm glad I didn't play those games like a sap.
The Pikmin 1 and 2 people, and I don't mean to call you out on this, that's like, you're in that community, but I'll just say it, I don't know if you'll be back here. I can say whatever I want. I'll just say it. The Pikmin 1 and 2 people they give, back in my day, I had to walk up 6 inches of snow, 6 feet of snow, both directions.
I watched you defend saying that a GameCube was good at PAX East. Well,
good.
You are the people. That's Pikmin 1 and 2. That is the GameCube.
Was Pikmin 1 and 2 on my list at that panel? It most certainly was not, okay? Y'all were over there.
What was the panel?
Picking and plop it.
What's the context here? What was this panel?
The panel was the GameCube is the greatest video game console of all time. Very firm statement, just thrown out there. Why not? Why not? And it's just like, what games do you like and stuff like that.
That ain't me. It makes no sense. That's exactly what you are. The people. Just because you didn't play it, it was.
I don't know if that's true. What am I just in Pikmin culture because I like the GameCube?
Yes, that's Pikmin culture. I played Pikmin like all the way back when I had a GameCube originally. I bought it because Nintendo decided to take one game from the 87%.
So you're telling me
that you can't
now
play
I'm responsible for Pikmin now. Like,
yes, you are.
We literally all have to like the same game. You know what? Then
like a water bottle on an airplane, you are now responsible for picking it up and throwing it out. Yes, you were there.
I mean, it happened on my watch. I was only a child, but you have to ask yourself, could I have done more? And when confronted with that, I'm aghast. I gotta admit.
I'm also one of those, back in my day, hill climbers with Pikmin 1 and 2. And here's the stance. Here's the perspective. Is I feel like it mattered more. Do you know what I mean? I feel like your Pikmin mattered more. And,
sure.
Every day mattered more. Every moment mattered more. But at the same time, I feel like I'm out of patience for that today. You know what I mean? I feel like all these decisions are wise because, we don't have time to, have our Pikmin die anymore and have to reload our saves anymore. It's weird. Game design has to, evolve with society in a way.
Yeah, the softening of the death of Pikmin. They're just like, oh no, they're gone. And how much easier it is to grow them. The fact that you can only have 20 and then 30 and then 40. In 1 and 2, you just have 100 from the jump. And that's also what makes them so unmanageable. But the fact that they are safe on Ochi and the fact that you have Ochi as well is certainly a part of that. It's like the quality of life also made it less hard, which then Pikmin 1 is wild. It's like, when you play Star Fox 64 and you're like,
no.
Oh, I just need to do this.
No.
And okay, and Star Fox 64.
You lived a very cursed gaming life. You're hitting the toxic bangers,
Yeah. Star Fox 64 is all like, oh yeah, you do Corneria and then you do a barrel roll. But really it's just five stages in a row and then you fight Andross and then you do it again and you do it again and you do it again. And it feels so small, the game. Pikmin 1 felt very similar in that you have 30 days and this clock will never stop and don't die. And then you're like, okay. And of course it's only 5 hours of gameplay, but it gets the difficulty curve is really, really wild once you get past the mandatory parts you need to find. So yeah, Pikmin 4 now being a modern game, and again, I don't know if I like it that they're shoving quote unquote modern standards into it, like Ochi's RPGs leveling up. I just don't know if I don't know. It's certainly fun, but I felt it being slick. The other thing about it, it feels like a remake of a movie, that new Ghostbusters movie where it's wow, I found my grandpa's old Ghostbusters stuff. This is us being wow, Captain Olimar wrote about this in his journal. And I'm why can't we just create some new IP? Can we do something new?
That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about Pikmin and Barbie today. No new IP.
No, absolutely no new IP.
Actually, yeah, I'm happy to transfer to Mario Kart 8 as well. Another game that we've been playing for feels like 10 years now. It is at least 5, right?
It's Mario Kart Wii U days.
Yeah, Mario Kart 8 came out on the Wii U. We got Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, still new tracks, new DLC coming out. And when I heard this panel wanted to talk about it this week, I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, let's talk about Mario Kart.
Those new tracks just came out, 4 of 5, right?
Yeah.
The second to last track pack. Basically what they announced the DLC, I think like a year and a half ago. It feels like so long ago. They said we're going to drop DLC tracks for this old game, and they're coming out over the next 2 years. And I bought in. Did you all buy? Like, I assume we all are not buying them piece by piece, but just like bought that package, right?
I did spend
Well, you get
money.
it through Nintendo online. You can at least, right?
Oh, are you all on that? Yeah, the expansion pack that's included.
Yeah, but Eric, you just bought it straight up.
I bought it so early before they did the combo, and I'm I'm sorry, your online's bad, Nintendo. Don't punish me. I already gave you like $40.
But Nintendo culture is all about being punished for things that you had no control over.
Yeah.
Like add it to the pile with Pikmin 1 and 2 because
that's real. I'll take that, Janet.
Honestly, I got so much baggage with Mario Kart 8 too. Like I really went on a tangent when that thing dropped because I'm like, look, and I think the fact they have new tracks is very cool. It is still like probably the greatest kart racer made of all time. It's a fantastic game that I have bought twice and paid for the DLC twice. And some of that DLC has been the same DLC. Only Nintendo can be like, this is the absolute definitive edition of the game. And then be like, but actually, it is here again. So yeah, I wish they did things differently, but we're here, and I'd be lying if I didn't say I wouldn't be excited to drive on more tracks and for them to continue this model, but I do find it really frustrating still as someone that had it on the Wii U, bought the DLC on the Wii U, bought the deluxe version on the Switch, and now you're using this pass to give me more. Why don't you just make a new game? And I know people don't want to hear that because they're like, oh, why? This game's great. I don't know, but I need a clean slate because it's like if you dated someone you work with and you still have to go into the office, and it's like, I don't want to see you anymore, okay? It's not even beef, but like, I can't stand to look at you at this point. That's me in Mario Kart 8 a little bit. But I'll drive anytime anyone wants because it's a great game.
No, I'm with you with that. I'm like, you know what? I don't know if I want Mario Kart 9 because apparently some mobile game was Mario Kart 9, Mario Kart Tour.
Oh, Tour, yeah. I played some Tour. I toured it up.
But especially now that we keep getting the Tour kart, because I never played it, and then we kept getting Tour stages, and it was like, oh yeah, it's just up-res stuff. But at the same time, they're doing some interesting stuff on those races where it's all like different stuff and it loops around instead of just like Baby Park, which is the absolute curse of Mario Kart Double Dash, right?
And the Tour courses are really good, so I'm glad they are bringing those over because, well, Tour I'm sure has an audience. It's not necessarily the same audience as the console version.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure because I hadn't played. Yeah, I'm feeling conflicted about Tour, how many Tour courses are being ported over. Like, if they weren't, and the fact that they're like real cities kind of grated on me a little bit. I'm like, okay, I guess I'm in Vancouver, ? And I'm Donkey Kong in a Mercedes car? Whatever.
That sounds awesome. So I don't know what you're talking about. Also, wait, to be clear, that's what breaks the immersion for you.
No, not immersion. Yeah, before I thought
you're like, this thing's going off the rails, not the driving upside down, not any of anything else.
Yeah, I thought this was Gran Turismo. No, not immersion, more just like feeling weird about the upper, again, like the fact that it feels like it's being something that is not that good is being sold to me again, except that those tracks end up being pretty cool. I'm stoked on it. Yeah. I can't imagine what the next like gimmick would be for Mario Kart 9 though, because I already don't super love the upside down stuff.
The wheels glow. What do you mean? I love the upside down.
Oh, that's the good part. You like that?
Yeah, like it feels like it reminds me of like I was a big Crash Team Racing fan, and they had a lot of funky zero-G loop-de-loop, like the Neo Cortex energy of the anti-gravity wheels. I don't know.
Those last two tracks are crazy. Yeah.
Yo.
To me, I'm sorry, we skipped way past 8, but that's an interesting question. We'll get back to Mario Kart 8, but like I feel like the next Mario Kart game, much like we just saw in Pikmin, is going to introduce a lot more like customization, unlocks, and progression.
Right. Do you think it's going to come anytime soon until it's like Switch 2 or whatever?
Switch 2, yeah, the next Switch, the next thing for sure.
Yeah, to sell.
I feel like this DLC is just in buying time, right?
Right. Yes. Yeah, for sure.
It feels like at any moment Mario Kart is going to switch into being a living game. And this feels like it is part of them building the bridge to get people to accept that. But it does feel like any moment they could just decide to turn it into Fortnite, but with kart racing And perhaps the worst thing about that is that I would play that. I would play that a lot. It sounds really fun. But especially if they do what you are suggesting, which is like adding RPG elements or adding more like character customization, then it just makes sense to want to extend that and to transform it from what is essentially like a fun party game, like a party game that's slightly more intense than a regular party game. But it is just like a party game that you get together and play with your friends. And if you start adding like character customization or RPG stuff, like you're transforming it away from being a party game and being an online experience that you play with people you know and love.
Nintendo notorious for being good at online and taking care of it.
That's the thing, Eric. It's gonna be bad. They haven't yet mastered connecting together players to play online, as we all saw during Animal Crossing in particular. So it just it feels like they could do it, but they shouldn't.
Do you play the game online?
What?
Mario Kart 8.
No, I don't.
A little bit.
So you've been downloading the tracks and you play them solo?
I played with friends. I've got friends in real life.
I'm sorry. That didn't even register as an option to me. I'm so sorry. I was not even like thinking of like
secret option 3. But do you play like that in person? Like you like couch co-op versus it?
Yeah.
That's really cool then. That's great.
People. Yeah.
Oh, so you're healthy. Okay. Well,
I see.
That's so MinnMax, bro. That's so MinnMax.
I'm sorry to flex about having friends in real life.
Really stunting on everybody. No, I do play online from time to time. I also like that you can, sadly enough, like Mario Kart is actually Nintendo's best take on online, even though it is still very flawed. Like the fact that you need to be friends. I have so many, and look, if you're on my Switch friends list, I'm not trying to say that you're not my friend, okay? I have friends on there, and then I have people that I just want to play a game with, and it's like, I'm giving that thing out to everybody because it's the only way you can match with like anybody. So it is pretty messy, but it has some cool stuff. Like I always love doing you can even like have 2 people locally go online together. And I thought that was really fun because if you've never done Mario Kart 8 online, you absolutely should just to see, can you hang or not? Because the people are playing online, they're playing for keeps, okay? These are people that had the game a few times over, like pro level kart racing. Like I'm lucky to crack into the top 5 online a lot of times because they're really, really good. They know they can do everything. They only drift. Like it's a really fun, surprisingly competitive scene in the like online random space. Obviously you can make little tournaments for you and your like Twitch viewers or you and like a group of friends or whatever. But yeah. And they have some fun versus stuff too. Like the cops and robbers thing. Like those are actually like pretty enjoyable to play.
What are, before we move on, I want to hear some highlights of the new stuff they've added to Mario Kart 8. Like, what are some good new tracks?
I really like, are we talking about all of the stages, all of the new stages?
Yeah.
The thing that literally, I actually gasped and went, whoa, was the remake of Kamari Desert, the one with the train from Mario Kart 64.
That made you gasp.
In the second lap, when it went up and turned, and then you went into the tunnel, I was like,
terrifying.
Hell yeah!
Because you don't do that on 64. Is that the thing? Is like
it's just kind of around, and you're avoiding.
Got it. Okay, so that's cool. Yeah,
and I really liked it, and like I'm keeping my mind open for these new tracks. Again, I'm very surprised at the quality of the tour ones. I'm really liking the Athens one that happened recently. I thought the Vancouver one was pretty fun, that you get to go through a hockey arena twice. I thought that was really funny. The Paris one is pretty good. I kind of like the cities ones have certainly grown on me for sure.
I also like the desert one. I thought it was shocking and terrifying to ride on the train tracks. I found that really shocking, but in a fun way, because it's a soft little Mario game, and I knew I wasn't going to get crushed by a train. I was just going to get bopped around. I also really liked the Ninja Hideaway tour map, where it's just like the trick house. That's so fun with all the weird levels and all of the weird ways of engaging with that level. I thought that one was really fun.
Jenna, what is the competitive level between you and your friends? in terms of Mario Kart?
A skill level, 1 is far superior. Competitive level, we're all 10 out of 10, extremely competitive. We're trash talking the whole time. It's only
that's part of it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that has to be part of it.
You got to throw a controller out of your friend's hand. That's just the way that it is.
One of my friends has a bunch of special settings set up for his controller so that when he plays, he has to play in the first person slot. I don't know what they are, and he won't tell us. He won't tell us or reveal his setting screens, but he has special settings set up for his peak skill. That's
just wild.
Yeah, it's such a mystery to me. I really want to know what he's packing.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. Maybe it's just all psychological.
Whoa.
Nothing's different. It's just to get in your head.
Whoa, it worked. Janet, that's very possible, and it's
feasibly, I can't actually think of what the settings would be. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I do think this is a prank.
I don't know. Here's the thing, though. He is left-handed, so it's possible that it's a specific left-handed setting. But why wouldn't he just tell us? Why wouldn't he just tell us?
Because this makes it so much sweeter, you know what I mean? Look at how he's got you thinking about it and he's not even here. That's how he's winning, you know?
He's playing 4D chess with Mario Kart right now.
Speaking of pranks, Janet, I have a question for you.
Sure. Oh, okay.
So I live in a city that is I live in Brooklyn and I live in New York. Mm-hmm. So the New York map is okay. It's mostly like Broadway and Central Park, right? Mm-hmm. Have you checked out the LA track at all?
I haven't driven on it, but when you brought this up before we started recording, I had pulled it up on YouTube and I've been watching it on loop on the other screen. So I'm ready to talk about what you got going on here.
So what did you do to hurt Nintendo? Because the LA one is the rudest thing to Los Angeles that I've seen. Now, the first 2 laps are kind of just like, oh yeah, it's the beach, and then it's like a Santa Monica Pier and whatever, right? The 3rd lap starts, and then you are in an oil field? Question mark.
It's like 30% oil field, the whole track. Yeah,
and it's only brown. The only color is brown of the entire space. You can even see puffs. And in the distance, you can see, like, oh, there's a Ferris wheel and a bridge. It was like, this is where you could be, but you're stuck in the 3rd lap of Los Angeles.
It's very, like, I don't even know what part of town exactly this would be at. Like, somewhere hidden amongst the corners of Culver City. Because Culver City is a lot of businesses and stuff. Like, I don't know if it's, like, the outskirts of there or what. But, yeah, it's an odd take. Definitely not my experience or associations with Los Angeles, for sure. Yeah, I wish it's interesting the tone they take with these treks in general, because I really like the Paris one too. Like, I think it's really pretty, and it's fairly basic. Like, the streets look kind of Parisian, sort of, and then they have like a couple iconography moments, and that's kind of it. Some chairs outside that are shaped a certain way, and they're like, it's Paris. I'm like, okay, sure. I do wish they had a little more fun with it. Like, I think about Cruising USA, like one of my favorite racing games of the modern era, and their LA kind of Hollywood area is so fun. They got like the big donut like hut places, and that I feel like that is very of Los Angeles. Like, there's a huge donut scene here, and I feel like they could have played up some of that kind of stuff, or just, I don't know, had a little bit more fun with it in general. I do think the locales, when they're based on real life locales, they go a little bit too much for realism, but with a Mario coat of paint, which I feel like isn't as fun as the sort of excitement y'all are talking about with some of these like older Nintendo-based courses.
It feels like they went to Encarta and typed in Los Angeles. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and for some reason it left off all the Hollywood stuff. Like, it just doesn't. The third lap
stars.
And instead we did oil derricks. Truly, you're avoiding the oil things that go up and down.
Nintendo's in the pocket of big oil. I've been saying that since we started this show. And more, it reigns true.
I just wanted to be really rude and say Mario Kart 8 obviously says New York's better than LA. I'm really good. Another shot in the large.
It's not wrong though. It's not wrong.
I think it's 100% true, and Mario Kart 8 establishes it.
Barbie is big in Hollywood right now.
Of course.
Box office boffo Barbie in 2023. I feel like maybe we all expected it recently, you know what I mean? Because there was so much hype. But then, like, I feel like, a year ago, it sounded insane that they would be making a Barbie movie. Jenna, you've seen it. You love it, right?
Yes, love it. 100% highly recommended.
Why is Barbie such a big success?
Well, because it's okay, and I want to contradict the statement that you just made about people being like, Barbie, why make a Barbie movie? Because immediately after Birds of Prey, Margot Robbie was like, I want to produce the Barbie movie. And that was my introduction to the concept of the Barbie movie. And I was really hype about that because I think Margot Robbie is really funny and I think she's an incredible actress. And I was just like, okay, I don't care about a Barbie movie necessarily, but I care a lot about a Margot Robbie produced Barbie movie. And then they got Greta Gerwig on board to direct. And I'm just like, okay, I don't know what this is going to be, but I think it's going to be a thoughtful approach to one of America's most enduring and divisive figures. And that's Barbie. So I love it. What was your actual question? I was too busy disagreeing.
No, yeah, because here's the thing though, it's a toy movie, right?
Yeah.
So like, why is it good?
Have you seen it?
No. That's the thing. I'm coming to this. I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Highly anticipating it. Everyone says this movie's great.
So the reason it's good is because it actively tackles with what Barbie means as both a cultural figure and as like a toy. And it's really engaging actively with all these levels. Whereas like, I feel like your like Transformers movies, your G.I. Joe movies are trying to take that mythos that's built in with this action figure or this toy and try to build that mythos into a story. And like, that's not really what toys are for. Toys are meant to be kind of empty vessels for children to project their own stories onto. And so like, Barbie and Ken don't have stories. The stories is that you bump them into each other and that's how you know they're kissing. But like, that's like, they don't have built-in stories and that's on purpose. So the Barbie movie is tackling the fact that these are empty vessels that stories and ideas and concepts are put upon. Like these are the canvas that we put stories and information on. And what are those stories and why are they so complicated?
Yeah, so so the impression I get of this movie is that it just looks like fun. You know what I mean? It looks like one of those rare instances where it's like a movie that everybody needed and nobody could have predicted, you know, where like it's smart, but starting from it is a toy movie that's highly intelligent and thoughtful. Like it's this kind of thing where like, you know, we're getting a lot of regular movies this summer. You know what I mean? Where like box office, just like we're getting a lot of just like regular movies, and the regular movies aren't doing it. They're, you know, we had a lot of bombs this summer. You know, a lot of blame was like, yeah, well, you know, we still haven't covered from COVID or whatever. But it's just cool to see like a success like this, you know?
Yeah. I'm delighted. They've won they are winning. I don't know if that'll overtake it, but they are winning the box office battle with Oppenheimer, which I was deeply emotionally invested in. So I love to see that.
But it's a fun thing where it's like, I feel like it's like, you know, no bad feelings with Oppenheimer, which is also doing very well itself in its own lane, you know?
Yeah.
But a year ago, you say Oppenheimer up against Oppenheimer. Good luck, Barbie. You know what I mean? And Barbie's like, I don't need it. I'm fine.
I feel like a year ago, I think we roll in different circles because everyone I know, except for like not everyone I know, because you know I went with my boyfriend. And he was like, "Do you think this movie's gonna be good?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I think it's gonna be good. Like legit, I think this will actually be enjoyable." And then it was great. So I was like, "Great," you know. And sometimes you take a chance on a movie, and that's not always the case. You know, as I knew from my fling with AMC Stubbs, where I was watching everything, and I'm like, I didn't need to watch some of these movies in theaters. I didn't need to see Megan in theaters. Like, I'll be honest. Like, I know some people disagree. It's like, you know, everyone has different tastes and things, but
Janet, it's pronounced M3gan.
Yeah, M3gan, exactly.
Another compelling movie about a doll.
And then the fourth one would be M4E.
Megan.
Yeah.
Oh, but hold on, but the A comes after the E. I can't spell. The point is, the Barbie movie is good, and yeah, I know a lot of people are really excited for this. So I'm glad that it's one of those rare moments where people were hyped around it. Like, I don't know, there was a lot of like energy, I think, too, from just everything you saw about this movie, like in a lot of circles that I've, you know, been in online or in person, where talking about LA, right? It's like, oh, they're shooting at Santa Monica and they got like the roller skates. Also, too, like, and I won't lie, like I wasn't already knowledgeable on all these different elements of Barbie lore, but just from my algorithm, my TikTok For You page, I learned about a lot of the different dolls they've had. So seeing like the roller skates, I'm like, oh, they're doing the like, those are the roller skates that would create sparks when kids would flick them. And they had to recall them because they were lighter roller skates. And the fact that they had that in the movie, and that you knew about that so early, it's like, oh, they're going to be doing some like interesting nods, like some, like playing, kind of poking fun at the IP in some ways. Yeah. And not to mention like the costumes just looked amazing, like from the jump. So it's like, and then seeing like, Margot Robbie stepping out of the heel and she has the Barbie foot. It's like, that's when I knew this was going to potentially like bang, because I'm like, okay, that's you mean no toes? No, just with the Barbies have toes. They have their feet like as if they're in a heel all the time. Like their feet are curved.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's
I needed a Barbie foot explained to me.
Yeah. I'm sure a lot of people have Barbie foot explained has been Googled a lot. And even just so many things about that being like such a nod, the shot being like, it's her foot. So there's inherently like some level of sexuality for some segments of the internet. Everyone joking about Quentin Tarantino wishing he shot this, it's like so much was around like all of that energy. And then seeing it, I feel like it delivered tenfold in references and Easter eggs, in self-awareness, in pushing beyond. It was also just really funny. And then it was more heartfelt than I expected. Like I was like, am I moved by this Barbie movie? Like I thought I was just here to have a good time, and I did have a good time, but I wasn't expected to, feel like, it sounds like I'm a cyborg, but like I wasn't expected to like feel emotions like that watching it. Like it was much more like human than I thought it would be for like a movie about dolls.
Yeah, extremely so. I've been wanting to make a patch for myself that says I cried at the Barbie movie, where cried is in the same Barbie font. I want to make that for myself. I want to wear that literally on my sleeve. It's so good. It's such a good movie.
Last question. Janet, did your boyfriend, who was tepid walking in, did he end up liking it?
Yeah, he liked it.
Oh, but that sounds like just a little bit though.
The reason I don't expound is because I don't know for sure, like, to what degree he liked it. Like, he definitely liked it, though, because there are times where, and it's funny, I don't think he's going to listen to this episode, and I tell him this to his face all the time. Sometimes my boyfriend does that thing that a lot of people do, where sometimes I feel like he doesn't like something, and be like, no, I mean, I didn't dislike it, but like this weird semantic nonsense. Mm-hmm. This wasn't that. He was like, no, it was pretty good. Like, there's a joke in the movie where he's like, oh, I want this thing. Like, he enjoyed it. I don't know if he liked it as much as I did. I feel like I'm pretty hot on it. I'm like one step below people that are like scalding on it. I'm like, it's not quite at that tier for me, but it's a great movie. Like, easy 4 out of 5 on Letterboxd for me kind of situation. Like, I had a great time. Like, if it's the kind of movie that in a bunch of years, if you haven't seen it, people would be like, oh, have you never seen it? Like, we should watch it. Like, it's actually really good. And then it'll continue to make waves in that way. That's the kind of film it feels like something that I would have missed and then watched and been like, oh wow, this is really good. Like, and you might underestimate it because of what the pitch is, but it really pulls it off.
Yeah. So wait, have you seen Barbie as well?
I have not. But okay. I think that like it's not for me, which is fine. I think that it's fine for 50% of the population that exists. And it's not for dudes. Like, and I mean that positively, right? Like, right. I'm probably going to see it at some point, but I was not like as super excited like so many people are. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm really stoked for people who are super stoked for it. And I hear it's really awesome and great. I don't mean to be reductive. I'm trying to say it in like a good way.
It is definitely like I definitely see what you're saying. I mean, it is based on a toy that was largely meant for little girls. But I do think if that is something that is keeping anyone who can hear the sound of my voice from watching it, I would say that it fundamentally has, as Janet said, a very human concept at it, and that the ultimate reward of the themes of the movie are about experiencing and loving our own humanity in a really beautiful and moving way. And also, all of the kin stuff is great for everyone. I think there's enough here for everyone.
I kind of land on that too.
This is 4 quadrants.
And obviously if you aren't interested in seeing it, like, yeah, I mean, chase your bliss. Like, there's a lot of movies that I skip as well. But I think it's interesting to think about, well, I'm not going to watch this because it's not for me, because I think it's interesting to think about that in the context of the reverse, right? Like most movies are not directly for women, or actually, if we're just to use like that simplistic binary for the sake of the conversation, like everything's for dudes, and then like maybe you get one or two things, and that's often the case in like, the context of looking at oppressed group versus not oppressed group within a certain societal subsect, right? It's like everything's like white except for the things that aren't. Everything's male except for the things that aren't. So, obviously, again, if you're not interested in the movie, like, yeah, sure, skip. It's a comedy movie about Barbie. Like, if that's not your jam, like, feel free. But it could be interesting if you have that thought to engage with it in the context of watching it through that lens. Because so many things that I love and enjoy are so masculine. I mean, I think about the first time I played as like a woman in a game, or played a game that felt feminine. Like that's such a rarity. Like if I only played stuff that I felt like was for me, or did stuff that was for me, I wouldn't do almost anything. So I'm like, I can't even have that be like, we'd have like the list would be so small, So again, not necessary. And at the end of the day, again, it's a comedy movie, but it could be interesting to look at from that lens if anyone's curious about doing that kind of sociological dive, because I think there's a lot to gain from that. And genuinely, to back Jenna's statement, I think there's stuff that can be enjoyed by everybody, but definitely, this is speaking on the perspective of women in a lot of ways, but also that's a perspective that has value to be further understood. Like some of the stuff in the Barbie movie is kind of like, oh, this is pretty straightforward, but frankly, a lot of people might not really know that stuff, which feels shocking as someone who lives it, But it's like, oh yeah, like there's a lot of threads here and things. Like it's just really interesting. So yeah, there's a lot to gain from it.
Yeah,
Janet, I 1,000% agree with that. I didn't want to say any of that stuff because it's certainly not my place. I agree with everything you're saying is what I meant from what I was getting at in a
go be an ally and spend the money to support the Barbie movie.
I've given women in my life each $20 to see the Barbie movie.
Honestly, that's legit, and it's fun to like have Chet mentions backstage pass that we should do a spoiler cast. We are trying to gather that together. We are waiting for a couple other people to potentially see the movie and get to have the chance to be on it if they want to, like if it is something they're interested in talking further about. But yeah, that's also like a funny thing and very valid. Like I remember when that Oceans movie came out, that was like the all women cast, and I was joking, like me with my friends, like we gotta all go see it, and we had like this one guy friend in our group, and he's like, I feel like I'm gonna ruin your guys' event by going with you. Like, just why don't you guys go on your own and have your moment, in the sun a little bit. That's how I feel.
But yeah, for sure. The only other thing from like a larger thing, because this intersects with the stuff. Well, I love all types of games, and the thing that I also like is Dungeons and Dragons. The table. I know I'm bringing up tabletop RPGs on the MinnMax show. The thing that came out a few weeks ago was that Mattel is super excited to put out 45 movies based on their IP, as reported in the New Yorker.
Is Mattel Barbie?
Yes, Mattel and Barbie, yeah. And I think that, so what makes Barbie so great is the two things that y'all have already talked about, is the vision of Greta Gerwig and Margot Robbie. And then we've already seen when you take an IP machine and you churn it out and you just put stuff out without artistic intention, it just kind of goes out there and it's glop, right? So it's like, comparing Barbie to the Spider-Verse movies, right? But you could also compare the Spider-Verse movies to the other Spider-Man movies that are just like there, right? And I'm concerned because I've seen a toy company pivot towards IP creation, as is happening at the Hasbro toy company, which owns Wizard of the Coast, and how they're kind of like been neglecting and also squeezing all of the money out of Dungeons and Dragons and Magic the Gathering. There's been a lot of stuff happening. Hey, Hasbro hired and worked with the Pinkertons, the Union Busters from your
American
Magic
the Gathering thing? You talking about
that was the Magic the Gathering thing, where someone accidentally got a box that came out too early, and they sent the Pinkertons, scary private investigation firm, to go get it back from him. And Hasbro has also said in their quarterly earnings, which I follow, because it kind of affects the future of Dungeons and Dragons, and like they're also pivoting to IP creation as well. And like we saw the Dungeons and Dragons movie, which was like a 6 out of 10. I thought it was fine, but like, and then it becomes like, oh wow, they used all the magic that was from the D&D, from the game of Dungeons and Dragons. Like, no, it wasn't. This was just kind of The way that I described it was that it was, you know how you're supposed to like send a letter to yourself and it's like a soft copyright? That's how I felt that Hasbro did with the movie. They're like, this is a franchise now. We franchised it. It exists. And it felt like they were just doing it to pivot to IP creation. And I'm concerned from these toy companies. I wish they would just make good toys and games. Because especially the neglect that D&D and Magic the Gathering have gotten, it's been a real bummer, especially in 2023. There's been a whole thing with the open gaming license not allowing third-party creators to be a part of it, that I was a big part of fighting against it. I also don't think that any of the stuff coming out of Wizards of the Coast right now for official Dungeons & Dragons stuff is good at all, because they're trying to just like doing straight down the middle stuff. And I'm just a little concerned about what now that Mattel's trying to make another Barbie movie, they're not making good toys, especially as that relates to games, from what I've been seeing at Hasbro.
I mean, yeah, you just said so much interesting stuff. It is, I mean, like D&D is essentially a toy in the same way that if you conceive of a toy as a tool to allow people to tell their own sorts of stories, like a prop or an idea or some figure that you can project those stories on. That's all that D&D is. It's just a series of rules. It's just a little bit more involved than like a Transformer or Barbie, but like fundamentally it's the same spectrum. And so the fact that they're like, we're going to leverage our own toy into making these stories, it does feel like it's a cursed proposition, because the point of the toys is that they don't have stories. I already said this. But it is just like, I mean, I'll keep watching Barbie movies if they keep making good Barbie movies, but I think the drop-off from the Barbie movie is going to be a precipice. I don't think you're going to be able, because like the Barbie movie is so thorough. It's such a thorough engagement with the concept of Barbie. And I don't know where you can go using that premise. But
it's real corporate brain, and like, oh, they like movies, they don't like good movies, right? Like that's explicitly what's happening with SAG and WGA on strike right now. Is like, our business model is going to be movies now, and now they're like, art is hard and you got to put a lot of energy and time into it, and that this so many things came together to make Barbie good, not just the fact that a company released their IP and allowed it to make a movie. And then now that's going to be the backbone of these toy companies' entire business model.
Yep.
But that's always been the case. I mean, you think of like, there's this, I think it's from the documentary series, The Toys That Made Us on Netflix, but they talk about like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and how that like spun off into like, well, we're trying to make the toys to sell the comics. Like,
right. Like, but it's the cart's now leading the horse. Right?
But it doesn't matter, because it's all like, at least to me, because it's all, at the end of the day, it's all like art, capitalism disguised as art. And I don't want to say that the art is not valid, or that all inherently, once you start selling it, like there is a level of capitalism in it. Even this, like I love talking about games, but also like I'm here and I'm getting paid to be here. You know what I mean? Like that's just fact. Doesn't mean I'm not genuinely enjoying it or making content with my heart, but there is money involved in the things that you do. I do think, to your point, it's not wrong to speak on the potential dangers of that. And I do think, like, I have this saying of, like, the second you get caught up on the money is the second that you mess up your money, because you will stop being able to create products or create art or create whatever, because you're going to be so in your head about, like, what's going to make money that you're going to, like, lose the bag by chasing the bag kind of thing. And I think that's kind of, to me, hearing your concern about that is sort of what you were speaking to, where the idea of wanting to franchise, wanting to be everywhere, wanting to be a household name at the top of minds, on, you know, all of that. Like, if you don't learn how to reconcile the desire for making money with what you're actually making, like, you won't have something like the Barbie movie, which again, that is something made to help sell Barbies. And at the AMC theater, they were selling a Barbie and the cart for like $60 and people were buying it, you know? And like, they had a $5 cup floaty. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of like, oh, maybe I should have bought that. Even I don't need that, you know? I'm not like into Barbie like that. I kind of never really was even into Barbie, but then this worked on me the way, you know, people were talking about this a lot, like on social media, like, I've heard the name they use for it, like Barbie capitalism or whatever, where they're like, I'm going to buy like the Xbox, the nail polish and it was so fun. But I've never seen such a moment of fun and self-awareness from an internet community that's like, hey, I know that I'm just buying this because it says Barbie and I don't care. And Mattel's like, that's perfect because we just, you know what I mean? But it's so rare for, I think, that marriage to work in terms of the company gets to make a lot of money and the people get to enjoy genuinely a product. And then I guess the last thing I wanted to say is I like the D&D movie, but I don't play D&D, so I don't know. But yeah, that's always a concern. And I think a lot of IP, as much as you might love an IP, there's probably a piece of art of that IP that you think sucks. You know, like whoever you are, if it's a big enough IP, you can probably find a version of it that is bad, you know, and that's just kind of the reality.
Eric, bad news. We now have 60 seconds to talk about Halls of Torment.
That's fine. Halls of Torment.
What is it? Yeah, what is it?
Halls of Torment is one of the Vampire Survivor likes. It is kind of moving the Vampire Survivor genre forward, and the way that Vampire Survivors was a love letter to Castlevania, this seems to be a love letter to like PS1, PS2, Dreamcast graphics, because that's how it's styled with like the dynamic lighting, and it's vaguely bad, quote unquote, bad 3D modeling. You can also turn on and off the auto aiming and the auto attacking. It's really fun if you need a new Vampire Survivor thing. I also want to shout out to NoClip that recommended it, and I picked it up, and it's been really fun. It's like, for someone who played Gauntlet in the arcade and also on my Dreamcast, I really liked it, and it kind of like, it's like, oh, this is for me, because I don't love Castlevania as much as the people who made Vampire Survivors did.
Are you auto on or auto off?
Auto on. I'm trying to turn it into a Vampire Survivors. Like, I could turn it on and off, but that's what I've been using it for.
Cool. Yeah, that's you know what I mean. Like, it's funny. We got a tight schedule, but I was happy to see where that conversation kind of meandered into. That was fun. I do have one big question though. How does this whole thing operate?
IP mostly? IP creation?
This whole thing, the MinnMax show is IP?
Yeah.
And bad toys.
Keep an eye out.
Oh my gosh, can you imagine a little Hanson?
Action figure, yes.
Okay, 1,000% that would sell though if we sold it.
Coming this summer, New Game Plus. It's nothing you've seen before.
No, of course. We're talking about patreon.com/MinnMax with 2 N's. That would be how you, a listener, could support MinnMax altogether. Beyond just even this show, there are many more programs and benefits to checking out patreon.com/MinnMax with 2 N's. Janet, what am I missing? Like, what else should we talk about in regards to how good the Patreon is?
Who are you asking
me?
Yeah, sorry. There's Jenna and Janet. That was Janet. I'll hit that T harder. Yeah.
I'm glad that you also were like, is that me? I was like, who is the right?
Yeah.
I mean, we do a bunch of stuff. We have, for $2, you get it on the Discord. Trivia Tower will make its fierce return with the return of Ben Hansen. So that's fun stuff. Get to like write in for questions as well, potentially win a prize. There's the Patreon exclusive podcast feed where you can get the podcast version of things like The Deepest Dive. You can get our Patreon exclusive podcast party chat, an audio version of all of that. And it just goes up from there. You know, we have a bunch of different content and ways to consume that content across all our different tiers. So if you like our content, I encourage you to check out the tiers and see which one might be right for you. If you have the financial means to do so, we'd appreciate it a lot. And from time to time, we come up with goofy little additional bonus content for hitting certain goals. You know, we did the pet documentary, we did the Trek to Shrek, we did the LA SGF crossover Universal Studio vlog, which did not feature a bunch of oil rigs for some reason. So we'll get that in the part 2 if you are so kind as to join our Patreon.
And I'm not just a guest on MinnMax, I'm also a patron. I always listen. I listen to MinnMax a lot. I love the Patreon feed. I love the podcast feed. I listen to all the podcasts. I listen to all of them except for this episode because I don't want to hear myself and I hate listening to my own voice.
I get that.
I can only shout out how many times I've listened to the Mario 64 Deepest Dive on the Patreon feed, on the podcast feed. I love it so much, and this is a wonderful place. It turns out there is a way to make art and make money at the same time, and usually that involves creator support through Patreon.
Once again, an excellent transition into where I now take a moment to thank MinnMax's biggest supporters. Because, now that we're in the thick of summer, you might be looking for some wholesome, convenient meals to support sunny, active days. Factor. which is America's #1 ready-to-eat meal kit, can help you fuel up with flavorful and nutritious ready-to-eat meals delivered straight to your door. You'll save time, you'll eat well, and you'll stay on track reaching your goals. Let me ask you, audience, are you too busy with summer plans to cook, but you want to make sure you're eating well? Well, the fact is you can skip the extra trip to the grocery store, you can skip the chopping, the prepping, and cleaning up too, while still getting the flavor and nutritional quality you need. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are ready in just 2 minutes, so all you have to do is heat and enjoy, then get back outside and soak up that warm weather. And this is going to sound wild because he's on paternity leave, but I have a little note from Ben Hansen himself.
Of course.
For what it's worth, they sent me a box of Factor meals last week, and it was like a godsend in a house with a newborn. Genuinely really enjoyed them. And they come with smoothies. That's from Ben himself.
Wow.
Kind of written in his language. When he says genuinely really, you know that's really him. Head to factormeals.com/MinnMax50 and use code MinnMax50 to get 50% off. That's MinnMax50 at factormeals.com/MinnMax50 to get 50% off. In addition to that, we have to thank I Am 8-Bit, huge supporter of MinnMax. They would like to draw your attention to physical versions. Pre-orders are open for physical versions of Neon White for both the Switch and PlayStation 5. It includes 5 Neon White anime-style character peeker stickers. And I had to look at that. I'm like, what's a character peeker sticker? It's like the image they show is like a window of a car, and it's just like the the top half of the faces of the neons and that cat with sunglasses. So those are actually pretty cool, worth checking out. They also every week send out a prize to the best community question on the MinnMax show. This week's prize is a vinyl soundtrack for Gravity Falls, the animated series. You can also find that item on sale at I Am 8-Bit's online store. You can use the promo code Egg on a Sidewalk, all one word, all caps, Egg on a Sidewalk, for 10% off everything under $100 US. Whew.
I want that vinyl soundtrack so bad. Now I'm gonna go buy it after this.
I mean, you gotta look at the art. It looks great.
Oh my god.
It looks like it's just like a nice thing to have.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are we ready for our community questions?
Yeah, I think so.
Let's do it.
Great. There was one I want to hit because it basically the question popped up during our Barbie conversation. Yeah, here we go. This is from Stark. The success of Barbie is a reminder that studios don't usually invest in female-driven IPs in the way they do for men. What do you think is the biggest game in recent memory that was primarily designed with a female audience in mind?
I have a really good guess for this, but I feel like there might be something more recent. But if I had to bet, it would be Animal Crossing: New Horizons, which is a game made, I would argue, primarily for a female audience.
So why would you argue that?
Well, it's in the way it's structured. I mean, the emphasis on things like fashion and community building and like making friends and like setting up your house and designing how your house is laid up are all things that are like traditionally considered like more feminine things to appear in games. And I think those are fun things for everyone to engage with. But I think the Animal Crossing brand in general is very feminine.
That's a really good one. It's just so like the only thing men will do anything other than get therapy and play Animal Crossing, and you need an entire pandemic to get them to sit down. Yeah, no, I like that a lot, Jenna.
But that's like 3 years ago now, so it feels like there's gotta be something newer.
All right, I got a weird question. I actually don't know the answer to this question.
Yeah.
So I was playing Bayonetta 3, which I don't think is designed with a female audience in mind, but does feel feminine. There are moments where it's like this character has, like the way that she grabs a pickup is feminine. You know what I mean? And sometimes it's like, oh, that's actually kind of nice in this way. You know what I mean? Like just with a little special flourish, But I don't think it's a feminine game. Do you know what I mean? Is that a weird opinion to have?
No, I think there are lots of games with female protagonists that I would not argue are trying to like get a mixed gendered audience or a feminine audience necessarily.
Yeah. I think Bayonetta 3 maybe is like closest, but I still wouldn't even like give it that, I guess.
Yeah.
I think a woman whose clothes are hair is supposed to be for women.
I know.
It's hard though. It's Bayonetta is such a hard one. We are not prepared on this podcast. It is the Bayonetta question is the one I've been struggling with for
it's almost like performative.
Years.
It's almost like performative femininity, like drag queens.
Mm-hmm.
And again, drag queens, parentheses, affirmative. It's like playing with the idea of projecting femininity. If a drag queen said that I kill demons and all my clothes are my hair, I'd be like, yes, here you go. I love this brunch. You're crushing it.
I don't think it's rejecting femininity. I think it is, as you're saying, like a drag over the top performance. The woman who designed Bayonetta and who designed like her figure and her kind of her clothing, like the woman who designed that has talked about how she pictures Bayonetta as like the most sexually confident version of a woman, as just being like this super powerful, super sexual being. And I think that comes through, but is itself a question of like, do women need to be hypersexual to be powerful? Is a harder question to answer. And it's one that there is no right answer to because it's so dependent on you personally and your culture. It's Animal Crossing. Thank you.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Even if you're like breaking it down by like numbers too, like hell yeah, it's Animal Crossing.
Yeah, I think there's like 3 layers to the question, which I think, Jenna, to your point, Animal Crossing I think hits 2 of those layers at least, where it's like it's for women, like it centers women and the female experience. There's for women, like it's catered towards what have been pre-identified as feminine or women-centric sensibilities within game design, which is a very like layered thing. And then it's for women, like women happen to like it and then that's how things kind of shift over time. Like I think Animal Crossing, I wish we had Kelsey on here because she's got the book, because I think there has been like games that are specifically targeted towards women, but those are like it's so layered, and I think a lot of times it ends up inadvertently driving stereotypes about women. But then there's like
Happy Home Designer.
Not exactly that, but it's just like there's a fine line when you think of girl games. You know, if you Google and there's been a lot of really fantastic articles written by women about the idea of what is a girl game and what have people. You know, there's like girl game like a Barbie horse game or the horse girl genre of games. There's like the sim element, and like why is it that are Sims made with women in mind, like Sims the genre, made with women in mind? Or is it that they have certain facets of gameplay that a lot of women happen to be drawn to / create communities that women feel comfortable being in? And now it's a mix of things. It's kind of like how, when we zoom back and think of things holistically, a lot of jobs or things that are seen as feminine are only labeled now as feminine because women happen to like them. And they're like, well, that's a woman's job then, or a girly thing, because enough of that happens. So it's very, which one is it, cart before the horse kind of thing on what creates this kind of a dichotomy between the two. But again, it serves Animal Crossing. I think it's just
pull back even one additional level is you also have this issue of what the things that we consider traditionally feminine, or the things that somebody who considers themselves a woman is attracted to, are also very much determined culturally. So I imagine if we looked at what games children were playing, there would not be a huge difference in the games that girl people or boy people are playing. But then because over time, the way that women are enculturated, it leads them to certain kinds of games about community, games about fashion. And Barbie, you bear some responsibility for this in that you were a fashion doll. And so sort of created that space for that kind of play, and also while also marking out that kind of play as feminine. So here's the thing, at the end of the day, there's no such thing as a woman. So what women like is so culturally determined. It's well, what is the answer?
Really quick too, just because it's interesting. There's a great creator on TikTok whose handle's @pink Jiu-Jitsu, JUJITSU, who does this series called Yassified Gaming, and it's where she takes like a feminine lens to games in general and talks about why this is a girly game. And she'll do like The Witcher 3 and talk about, again, things that we stereotypically associate with femininity, like picking flowers, like crafting, like, Tears of the Kingdom. That's just a game where you play dress up, like, things like that. Yeah. And I feel like there's something interesting and cool about that as well, because she's kind of playing with that dichotomy in terms of how she engages with, or how they, engage with the medium and what they're sort of drawn to, but also like kind of looking at, hey, you may think that these are really masculine things, but really there's so many like additional layers to it that you might not be perceiving. So anyway, there you go.
Good one. Good one. Use that again for your get a load of this.
I'm going to give you each $20 to go see Barbie again. Good job.
Hell yeah.
This next question will be informative for me. This will help me. This comes from David Dubs. Hey, folks. What would you say is the appropriate amount of showers before you change out the towel you use to dry yourself?
What a sigh, Janet.
I don't know. We've had some interesting answers to questions like this before, so I'm curious.
You're nervous about our answers?
I'm nervous.
I'm
holding back.
Mine used to be a hard 7-day limit. Every Sunday I would swap out all of my linens, bed linens as well, just kitchen towels, all of them. But then the pandemic hit, and after the really scary part of the pandemic where the hygiene concerns were a little bit lessened, so maybe like 2 years in, I was just like, actually, rules don't matter anymore, and it's fine to just do whatever. But I still stick to like a 2 weeks about my high limit for when things need to get swapped out.
I think mine's a little more holistic. I think it's like when I'm doing laundry, which I'm ended up doing laundry. Sometimes I do it like I end up doing it twice a week, or sometimes I end up doing it after 2 weeks because I got a lot of stuff going on. Like if it smells nasty for sure, and then I throw it in. But I think it's more like whatever happens, man. It's just like no one's tracking me. I'm only saying this on a podcast. Like I hope it's a week, but if it's not, I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to tweet about it.
Good. Defensive. What a defensive stance. Kyle, you going to tell us?
Yeah, Kyle,
shampoo and face wash.
I got to go last.
No, Janet.
I got to go
what
last.
Does that mean? Uh-oh. Janet, you made me so nervous.
For the other things that people have said on this podcast in regards to things that they do in the bath and shower, I have shampoo and face wash and body wash. I have other things that I use, okay?
Boy,
I'm just saying.
What a low bar. Kyle?
For me, it's like basically to where like you can't fold it anymore because it gets too crusty.
No.
Then I throw it away and get a new one.
I don't believe you.
You're folding it every time you use it?
No, just like, like when like after you dry off and you have to hang it back up, if it won't fold, if it's too crusty to fold, I know it's time to get a new towel.
I don't believe you. I think you're doing a bit. And this is not bit times. This is serious.
We haven't had one bit this entire, but we've been very straight-faced and natural this entire podcast.
Tell us about your towels, Kyle.
But no, like, if I'm being honest with you,
right?
it's a stink test. No, it's not the crust test, but it is a stink test. If the towel stinks, it needs to be washed. If it doesn't stink, it's good.
No. I'm changing it every 2 to max 3 showers.
Like, no way.
I'm not going any.
Janet.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not going any further
You're running
than that.
a hotel in your own apartment.
I think that's fair. I think that's reasonable.
Like, yeah.
Where's your washing machine? How far away is it from you?
It's like 1 foot now because it's in unit. Yeah. Like,
oh, okay,
that's
yeah. I gotta go.
But no. Hold on. It's been only in building. It's been not at all. Like, I use it to something that I wipe across my bare butt cheeks. I'm not going to be looking to get max uses out of that.
No.
It's clean. Yeah, so what?
So never more clean in that moment.
How nasty are you getting out of the shower like?
Like, I mean, why? What am I like stretching it out? The uses for like you use it.
It's so you don't have to do laundry as much. I think I'm with Eric on that one. It's just like. No, I respect it,
like
Janet.
I'm
changing it every time, like every 2 to 3, like maybe because I wash my hair like every 3 days, like a Monday or Sunday, Wednesday, whatever, because I have curly hair. That's around when I do like a refresh of that, and then I try to clean the towel that I like dry my hair. Like, it's gonna get gross. Like, You don't want to wait for it to be gross. If you're waiting until it gets gross, it's already been
it's
gross
grosser
for too long.
than you realize. I change mine out weekly because I read that Oprah. I don't know if this is true, but I read that Oprah has new linens in her house every single day, and I'm like, God, I wish that were me, but I can't commit to a thing like that. So, Janet, I respect that you're a 2 to 3 shower person. I wish that could be me. It's just not who I am.
Okay, all right. Here's my MinnMax vow, because it's like have fun and get better, right? The third part of the mantra.
Yeah,
sure.
I'll do it. I'll every week, every 7 days. But the thing is, you got to do a whole separate load every 7 days too. You know what I mean? That's the thing I think that prevents me. You can't just toss the towel in with your clothes. It needs its whole load.
But don't you already have a section for the towel? Yeah. You have to clean your towels and your other stuff separately because it's nasty. I think if you mix them all together, it's not the biggest deal in the world, but because I clean those on hot heat to get them, because they're grosser materials versus a shirt that I just wear.
And your shirt
that can be cold because it keeps the material for
this
longer.
Is new to me. I'm with Eric.
But I'll do it.
On this one.
I'll do it for MinnMax.
Jenna, this might be a thing that we lived in New York City for too long, where you just need to survive. They have space and they have washing machines nearby.
Look, again, I've lived in a lot of places, and I've always washed my. Now, if you don't want to, it's your life. Y'all are not. I'm not dating any of you. I'm not family with any of you. No offense. I don't. Y'all are adults. Do you? The question was, what do you do? I'm hitting there every 2 to 3. I'm doing the same with the hand towel. Yes, my hand towel is different than my body towel. It's a whole thing.
You knew though. No. The thing is, you said I want to go last because you knew.
Yes, I knew. I absolutely did know. Yes, I knew. I knew already.
When
I've done
you
these
said
before.
You wanted to go last, I knew it meant you were either super tidy or super nasty, and I'm just relieved that you're super tidy.
Yeah, I was expecting an escalation on the crusty thing.
No, not with this.
Kyle,
I don't play any games with this.
Kyle, it's a backstop. Kyle is not waiting until it's nasty. It is just until it's I really should have done this. And then it's just constant. I feel you, Kyle. I'm here supporting you. You wish you were on a regular schedule, and I wish that I had an in-unit washer dryer. But it's you smell it, and you're like, oh, I messed this up. I beefed it. And then you try to do better next time.
I'm going to be better, yeah. Here's another question. No bits, this one, pretty serious, and from Meta Monster. What's up, MinnMaxers? I've been learning game design and trying to break into the industry. Something I've learned about that I had never heard of before is joining this community of devs is game jams. These are short marathons to create a game as fast as possible. A lot of games from jams eventually become full-fledged games, like Hollow Knight, Celeste, Baba Is You, etc. My question is, how come it seems the game journalism industry doesn't cover game jams often? It seems like a great way to point people towards indie developers through bite-sized games.
So game journalism, like a lot of journalism on the internet now, relies on SEO. So you have to make a certain amount of games that have broader appeal or more vibrant SEO, like a Nintendo game, like Pikmin does, it is naturally going to be a topic that you're going to want to write about more because people are going to be searching for Pikmin. They're going to be searching for those terms, and that's going to direct traffic to your site. And I think a consistent issue that I know people in the community, people who are fans of games, struggle with is indie game exposure. How do I learn about indie games? And I feel like multiple times every year, just all the time on social media, I hear people being like, why isn't there somebody covering indie games? And the answer is there are. There are so many podcasts, newsletters, there are streamers, there are so many people actively covering indie games, but nobody knows who they are and they don't have huge audiences because the games that they cover don't have huge SEO. So that's the thing is one of the most interesting things about wholesome games is that they are this thing and they got big enough that now they can launch indie games based on their own wholesome games sort of aesthetic and SEO. They have enough of an audience centralized to get that. But the answer is, you're asking about why don't games, it's an order of magnitude where it's big popular games are going to have more attention. Smaller indie games, you can boost them, but they are not going to boost you back. Game jam games are not even full games yet. The games that you mentioned went on to become games, but it's not a good investment of like game journalist time or money or energy to cover something that might be a game someday. That's my angle on it. I don't know if Janet as another.
You came in with hard truth from the start on that one.
It's genuinely, this is the thing is like genuinely, I always see people being like, why don't people talk more about indie games? We want to learn about indie games. We want to play indie games. And this is why. And every time there's an indie game coverage site that goes down and like stops promoting, people are like, why aren't you doing this anymore? And it's like, because there's no money there, there's no attention, there's no support. That's not how the internet functions. And the internet functions bad now. Like it is bad that everything has to be an order of magnitude. It has to be quantity over quality, but that is where SEO is at right now.
From an artistic creation thing, which is really what a game jam is, right? It's a bunch of people in the same community making something. Why do you want a journalist there? I've seen a lot, like, I just don't necessarily understand why you would want coverage. Like, I've seen a bunch of artistic communities I've been a part of. Like, I'm a full-time podcaster, seeing, like, people walk in being like, these are the best podcasts. And then it just causes problems, unless it's, like, capital C crit, right? And I've also seen this in other places. Like, I used to do slam poetry in college.
Me too.
And there was there was, like, I did it at NYU. I started, like, the college team there. And then there was a
really fun connection.
Yeah.
There was a point where they started this YouTube channel called Button Poetry began, where they started filming people.
Yeah.
Right. And then it got
poetry.
really
Everyone
big.
knows button poetry.
I know those people. Janet, I've known those people from Minnesota. I know those people. And like they set up those cameras, and then the whole thing changed because then it started being content creation, starting to be popular. Once you start bringing someone who can amplify an audience in, it changes the artistic production. It changes the artistic process of what we're doing. So a game jam specifically, I would say people are just making stuff on a prompt. If I was worried about the New York Times writing it up, I would certainly do art different. And I've seen it both in various perspectives in various versions of the internet. So Janet, sorry. What Jenna said 100%, but from the artistic perspective, I don't even want someone covered.
That's a great angle on that. Yeah.
Yeah, mine's like a combo of the two from what you each said, where it's like, for me, like as, you know, I'm independent to a degree, you know, I'm not looking, anything I write about, I'm not getting money off of, like my Pen and Pixel site doesn't generate any income for me. Like I have Patreon to create that income. I'm not doing that for views, but even me, I'm not, that would be its own lane, you know, if someone decided, you know what, I want to focus on just what's going on in the indie game scene. I have a vertical on highlighting jams. I have a vertical on this. But even then, it's like, it doesn't make sense to, from a content and artistic perspective, to go too deep on, wow, this game jam, it's just a little quick project piece. You know, I've even done, I used to do like a series on my YouTube channel that was like looking at like really odd games on itch.io, playing them and just kind of seeing like what they have to offer. And, you know, I had a developer once be like, oh man, like, oh, I can't believe you even played. Like, I'm kind of like, I feel seen now that you like played my game. Like, you know, it's like, not in a bad way. Like they didn't like mind it necessarily, but and granted, as a critic, I'm not too pressed about making creators stressed because you can't be. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, like it doesn't make sense to go in and I'm not going to do a review of like a jam game. Like it's meant to just be a place for people to jam out and do their thing. Like that's why it's a jam. Like demos, sure, that's like a different story. Like but it just doesn't make sense. You know, if it was an event, like there's a context where that kind of stuff gets highlighted. But yeah, like that's why people aren't, you know, the best game jam game, it might not end up mattering, which is valid, but like it's not going to necessarily come to fruition, you know?
That's the thing is like I can think of like how to produce a game jam to make it full of drama. You know what I mean? You make it this tournament style.
The drama jam? Oh my god!
Make people care about who wins and like the sacrifices the people are making and who loses and how sad they get. You know what I mean? You can produce it,
so sad.
But it runs contrary to what the game jam is about, which is just have fun, just have a good time. And so in a way, I do feel like the coverage could ruin it in a way.
Yeah,
for sure.
The teacher walking in and being like, looking over your shoulder. It's like, oh man. Like, and I used to teach, so I get it. But it's like, no one likes that.
Yeah. I do have a question, though, before we move on, for Janet and Eric. Janet, excuse me. about slam poetry. Do you write your own stuff?
Yeah.
You both do? So you write your own stuff and then you perform it.
Yep.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, a poetry slam is actually it's a competition. It's a structure. The whole thing about the poems, like there's no such thing as a slam poem, right? It is a poem you are ready to perform that has to be less than 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Like that's it. That's the only parameter. The poetry slam is a competition structure for people to compete, whether individually or on teams. It's just a way in the late 90s, in the 90s and 2000s to get people to be interested in poetry, and then it kind of blew up, right? With Def Poetry Jam, you might remember from HBO, and then it became like part of the fact that, like, oh, you can support artists in like the 2010s. You could tour and be a performing poet. And all this stuff, and then there were rises. There's the National Poet. There's NPS with Natural Poetry Slam, and then in college I did the CUPC, which was the collegiate stuff.
Yeah.
Basically, it was just like a whole thing.
Cool.
A whole thing like it's like a sport, but it's performance poetry.
So do you ever bomb? Do you ever go out there and just bomb?
Yeah, because people give you scores.
Yeah, I did LTAB, which is technically like more of a youth thing. So I do think the judges tend to like. They don't really tell you if you're poem.
They really don't give you
know what I mean? Like, they're not going to give a kid like a 2. They will give you like maybe like a 7. You know, it's like it's the classic review conundrum, right? For the older kids, like because LTAB also opened a college circuit, and I did judge for one of those, and I think people who know this show know that I just say if it's good, I'll say it's good, and if it's not, I won't. But it's like it's meant to be fun, playful, and contextual. Like whenever the judges score, everyone boos them. Like everyone boos the judge. The MC will always say like, "Hey, here are your judges," and then everyone boos. Like you're supposed to boo the judges.
Great.
Yes. You're people they're like, you'll give a poem a 9 out of 10, and some people will still boo the judges because that's them showing the support for like the piece to that degree. But yeah, if people are interested, I encourage everyone to check out "Be Louder Than a Bomb" documentary. It shows like a lot of sort of what it is. It's an older documentary. I know a lot of people, or was tangent to a lot of people that are in the documentary, because that was very much like a Chicago documentary, and it's funny seeing them little when I know them all grown up and stuff. But anyway, it's really powerful and cool. And slam poetry, just like you said, it's poetry off the page. You could read anything, and that's a slam poem if you're performing it.
The point isn't the points. The point is the poetry.
Is the poetry. Yes, I have not said that in so long.
Yeah, dude.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
When I think of like a slam poet, I think of somebody who has very good posture and you can never really get through to them. You know what I mean? So I was surprised to find 2 slam poets here on our panel today. You know, like you know the type. Just like yes, I love to do my slam poetry. You know what I mean? Like oh wow.
There is a self-seriousness, obviously, to performance poets, because like you need to, one, you're trying to get people to understand what you're talking about, and then 2, because of the way the point system goes, usually someone needs to talk about their or the country or the world's trauma or a connection of all 3.
It's a little bit of a trauma dump. Yes,
so you can game it a little bit. That's interesting.
Yeah. But also, like, a lot of those people have a lot of stuff to work, which, I think that's a very natural, like, thing with art, right? Like, a lot of my pieces, especially, like, when I first started, were pretty dark. And the collection of poems I made in college are a dark collection, they're, like, a little bit more meant for the page than my usual stuff. Like, I had to think of, because I was used to performing, so you don't have to worry about, like, where you're placing commas and things, because I'm going to read it the way that I want you to hear it. When you write, the struggle is, I don't know what voice you're using to read this, so I'm going to try to make my voice through punctuation and spacing and all these other things. But it's been a long time since I wrote. I competed from freshman year of high school to senior year of college, so 8 years I was competing annually. But anyway, yeah.
Here's a cute question from Stephen Toth. If Nintendo turned the town you grew up in into the next Mario Kart 8 DLC city track, what would be the predominant feature or obstacle in the course?
The bean. Chicago, the bean. You drive underneath it. You have to.
The chrome? The big weird chrome beam?
Yeah, it's called like City Gate or Cloud Gate. Yeah, it's the bean. It's fine. The artist can deal with it. He'll be okay. Or they'll be okay. I don't know.
No, the Switch could not render that thing. No. Real-time reflections the whole way you go under.
Okay, but like, what if they can figure something out?
Fake it.
They could put like some lights underneath it to make it like I don't know, but that's what they have. That's what I want to see.
To be.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, you got to drive off Navy Pier into the water.
Yes, like because that's the point of it's like things you can't do in real life. You can't drive under that thing, like
I'm surprised there wasn't a Chicago one in Mario Kart Tour. Again, I don't really know what cities they're choosing. It's confusing to follow.
Yeah.
I was just trying to look up Chicago.
It's that
Mario
classic,
Kart Tour.
it's in the Midwest, so it's just forgotten. You know what I mean? Like they're going all international, all coasts, the coastal elite, as I enjoy being a part of now. But I remember my roots, my Midwestern roots. Okay, I went to college in Iowa. All right.
I think for St. Louis, it would be the St. Louis Arch, and you would drive up and up to the top and down over it again, and it would
absolutely
be cool.
That would be very cool. The drop would be bonkers. I would love that so much. That drop is so steep.
And you know what? The way up should be slow too. That'd be cool, like a roller coaster style.
Yeah,
you're fighting against the gravity.
You have to fight your way up, and then it's just like. And then it probably launch you. I would assume it would launch you over the Mississippi River into Illinois.
I visited St. Louis for the first time last year. Mm-hmm. My friends just went there on a whim. That arch is like scary. Basically, you tuck all of your 5 friends into these like really tiny, freaky gondola elevators that very slowly rise up this actual arch. It's so scary.
Yeah, it's great. And then
it is great, though.
You can get to the top, you'll peek out the little windows, and you're like, yeah, there's that state that I'm still in, and that other state that I'm not in. It's thrilling.
From where I grew up in the kind of like an hour and a half north of New York City, so in Golden's Bridge, New York. So I think that would be fun for you to drive through the woods in the first lap, and the second lap, you're driving through a Metro North train, which is the commuter train to go to New York City, and then the third one you end up driving all the way through Grand Central Station.
That'd be cool. That would be fun.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun. But of course they won't do it because Mario Kart's not about doing interesting stuff.
Wow.
It's about making... We didn't even talk about the fact that the new stage was a bathroom. So weird.
Wait, what?
I love the bathroom. Hold on now. That's my favorites.
You drive through a weird, hairy, dirty pipe from your like bath to the sink.
Cute.
It's weird.
Yeah, there's a little
changing the towels in that.
The major feature is the fact that the toilet is broken in laps 2 and 3.
Yeah,
weird. It's weird.
The towels look good though. To answer your question, the towels look great.
Rendered pristine, clean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no smears or crust or anything. They look fine. Let's do one more little quick one. From Lamb Dance. Hey, MinnMax. With the whole phenomena of people dressing in pink for Barbie, have you ever gone all out for your outfit to a pop culture event?
Barbie.
Did you dress up for Barbie?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't buy anything separate because I'm trying to avoid these event purchases, as many people I'm sure have been plagued by, where it's like you buy that one thing and it's like it's just for this one event. Yeah, I have this like pink sprinkly covered dress. If we do a spoiler cast, I'll wear it again. And I have these sparkly boots that, frankly, they're not that comfortable, but I love them because they're sparkly boots. And whenever I wear them, like I always get compliments on them, and they're like the greatest shoes on earth. I just wish that my foot was shaped a little differently to enjoy them. But yeah, I was dressed up for Barbie. And I was not alone. I went to the 10 p.m. viewing like the night before the technical like release thing, And yeah, it was packed with people dressed for Barbie, and people like came like hardcore for it. It was really nice.
We all wore pink to it. That was our none of us had like good Barbie outfits, but we all did wear pink. I remember when the Dark Knight came out. Did any of you play the ARG for the Dark Knight? You remember the ARG for the Dark Knight?
Oh, the Harvey Dent thing, right?
Yeah.
What is this?
There was an elaborate ARG for the Dark Knight back when companies thought ARGs would be good branding and merchandising stuff for the Dark Knight. And it was like really elaborate and well done. and really intense, and people got really into it. Anyway, I did that leading up to The Dark Knight, so I was super, super hyped for it. I was just like really emotionally invested, and I did dress up. I had a Halloween costume that was punk rock Batgirl, back when that was also a popular thing to do in cosplay in the late 2000s, the punk rock variant of a character. And so I remember dressing up and then going to the midnight release of the movie and then hating the movie and being there in my outfit and just like melting.
Wait, was this The Dark Knight or Dark Knight Rises?
It was The Dark Knight. It was the one with the Joker, which I did not care for.
Wow, really?
And I haven't rewatched it, so I'm not prepared to defend my stance on it.
Oh my gosh. I don't want to set you up here because I know it's like a very beloved movie, so I'm sure a lot of people will be like, no. And for some reason, I've not enjoyed like the general movie internet community. I feel like anytime I say anything, they're like, did you not like it or did you not understand it? Are you dumb? And I'm like, oh, calm down. Did you make the movie? What is that? What didn't you like about it? Now I feel like I'm in that Family Guy clip. Okay, be honest. What didn't you like about it?
Yeah, it's been so long. It's almost hard for me to articulate, but I just didn't love any of the stuff they did with Harvey Dent and then killing off Rachel in order. And like, because the whole movie.
Also, spoilers for the movie.
Well, it's been 40 years since that movie came out. Yeah, I didn't like, it's just so clear from the start that Rachel's only real role in the movie was to be terrorized by the Joker. And so.
I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
No, it's a Christopher Nolan movie.
Wrong.
That's what women does in his movie.
Yeah, that's it basically. Like that's a big part of it. And so it's just like, I don't know. It was right at the moment where I stopped being awed by the masculine spectacle of hyper-violent movies. Like that movie was right on the cusp of it. So whereas Batman Begins was just like such a great exploration of Batman, this one just felt like this needless, weird, sad, gritty nightmare experience.
Did you watch the last Batman movie?
I did, yeah. The one with Catwoman.
Robert Pattinson. Yeah.
Oh no, the one with Robert Pattinson. Also just a mess. What a mess of a movie. But I love Robert Pattinson.
The something in the way didn't do something in the way. You were like, nah, I'm good.
No, I appreciate
that stuff's fine.
Yeah, I appreciate the ways in each Batman movie is a perfect thumbprint of the era in which it was made. I appreciate that about every Batman movie.
Are you going to keep like watching them? Because you mentioned like, oh, I didn't like this one. Are you just kind of like, I'm going to always check in and see what's up, or are you going to be like, you know what? I think I'm done.
No, I hit that point with Marvel movies because there were so many of them. I'm not necessarily emotionally invested in any of these franchises anymore. Like I haven't been a hardcore comics book reader for like a decade now. And so I like to check in with it, but I hit a point with like Marvel where there were just too many. I don't think I'm going to hit that point with DC Comics because they just don't put out as many. And I just don't watch all of them. Like I haven't really watched any of the Justice League stuff. I check in with Batman because I was so hardcore a Batman fan.
That's the thing, Jenna. It's a sad story because it's not only like the last Batman movie you looked forward to. It also sounds like the last time you dressed up.
It was probably the last time I dressed up. It was probably the last time I went and saw a midnight movie.
Oh my gosh.
Man, I can't imagine. Like, it's sad, but also like, I would be lying if I didn't say it was also intensely funny to think that you're going back and having to, you were like, because you were like already older when the movie was out, it was just to like, hang up the cape one last time. Like, I'm sorry, that's funny.
Sadly taking off
my happened to you, but it is a funny image.
The one comic book panel of Spider-Man where Spider-Man throws
in the garbage can.
It's Jenna throwing her cosplay in the trash.
Genuinely, man. That vibe. I don't have any pieces of that cosplay anymore. Yeah.
To touch on the Marvel thing so quickly. Think about Barbie as Thor Ragnarok or Black Panther, like taking IP and someone with vision making it, and then think about like the other Marvel movies that have been coming out recently, and that could be every other Mattel movie coming out. Watch out!
A bad example for that. Like I don't.
Yeah, this is a weird poll. Black Panther, I'll grant you, but
Thor, Black Panther and Thor, like
it was made with
other.
It was made with the director's intention, and they doing their thing within the IP. That's always what everyone is pushing.
Sure. But the Barbie movie was good, and the Black Panther movie was good, and I was not.
And then the Thor movie. Some people were taking their costume off after that Thor movie. I don't know. I just feel a vibe from that.
I thought people like Ragnarok. I'm not talking about Love and Thunder. Not Love and
Ragnarok's
Thunder.
Good stuff.
No, Ragnarok.
Yeah, Ragnarok was the first funny one where it's like, this is
You know what
cool
sucks about talking about Thor movies is like. And I think I saw maybe one of them is like, there's always that conversation. And this is what I hate about even having, it's like, I'm like, which one's the bad one or the good one? And then everyone might have a different answer. And then I'm like, I watched one that was really bad. And they're like, you watched the bad one, but did I watch the bad one? Or did I think the good one was bad? Like I just walk away from it at that point. I'm like, and I love Marvel movies, but
too many.
Thor's is the tangled mess.
The confusing part is now Marvel people on the internet want to tell you that Thor, the one with the weird dark elves, was actually good, but that was the super bad one. That's where it gets confusing.
There's a lot of layers there. There's a lot of layers there, but yeah.
Eric, did you ever go all out dressing up?
Not really dressing up. I do remember the last time I think I saw a midnight movie that I can remember was, I did dress up for that. I saw The Great Gatsby, the one with Leo in it at midnight, and I did dress up a little 1920s for it.
Ooh,
that's great.
Okay.
These are great answers. That's so fun.
Yeah, it's a really good one.
Did you like the movie?
I mean, like, from now that I understand Baz Luhrmann and, like, seeing it, I'm like, well, yeah, it totally makes sense for him to do all this spectacle. It totally makes sense. It was weird watching it and being like, why are they singing along to Jay-Z?
I had the same thought, the Jay-Z pan in the car. Never sat with me right, but I see what you mean. So were you like a hardcore Gatsby fan, and that's why you're like, I'm showing out for Gatsby?
Yeah.
I'm doing that thing for Jay Gats.
It's my favorite.
Me too. There's like some weird overlap here. I think we were separated somewhere along the family tree because we have like some really specific literature things in common. Yeah, like Gary Gatsby is like my favorite book ever. It's so good.
Yeah, I would say if there's any piece of art I'm really annoyed that I missed, there was a theatrical production called Gats, which is where a guy raids all of The Great Gatsby on stage for like 6 hours, and it's like really well known as a theatrical production. I really wish I had seen it. It's wild.
Cool. I'll do mine really quick. We saw in Entertainment Weekly, there was a movie coming up called Dragon Wars. My group of friends. Yeah. And we all said, nobody look up anything about Dragon Wars. We're going to be there midnight, the first opening. We're all going to wear shirts that say Dragon Wars. And like we all made custom D-Wars shirts. Like we're super fan of Dragon Wars. And then there were like 2 other people in the theater, but we all arrived like we're the biggest fans in the world. This was very funny to my ironic group of friends, but like it was not a good movie. Then we like watched D-Wars, which is not a good movie at all. There's no dragon until the last 5 minutes. So,
man.
Yeah. It was one of those, like, I'm like very used to bombing bits. You know what I mean? That was like one of our worst bits where it's like, this is going to be hilarious. And then you're like in the theater and you're like, oh, this sucks.
Really quick, Eric, can you say like the top 10 worst bits in the voice you've been doing the whole show?
Top 10 worst bits from Kyle Bosman and his friends. Number 10, D-War.
Yeah, and then number 9 would be like hopping into the podcast and making fun of Picross for the first 2 minutes. That would be number 9. Let me do one more comment.
That was you.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that bombs. I could not believe how bad that bombed. I thought it was back. I can't even. I'm still thinking about it, man. It's like your podcast host, you're supposed to let stuff like that go, but like, man, I'm still thinking about it. Anyway, one more really quick one. This is not a question. This is from Villis. Not a question, but I just want to say thanks for selecting me for the Sennheiser microphone contest. Nice. Once it arrives and I mess around with it a bit, I'll try and share what I'm doing with it. I know the cliche thing is to say, oh, I never win these things. But what I always say about any contest or competition is the only way to guarantee you don't win is by not entering. Enter all the contests you can for free. This is not to endorse gambling. And you'll win some great stuff. Smiley emoji. Cool. I thought that was neat.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Well, because of that comment, I'm going to download so many Gashapon games right now.
Oh, no.
No, they said no money. They said no money.
I also want to say, as a podcaster, that mic's good. Good. That's
I'm using it now.
I'm so happy.
It sounds like an ad, but I'm sad that I wasn't using it last week because it would have been great promo for the giveaway. But it's really fun getting to give that item away. Like, I'm running our socials, so I run our giveaways. And I said it on Twitter, but I genuinely was really moved by everyone's replies by what they do with the mic. Like, I really am like, I wish we had more microphones, because everyone just had like really wholesome stuff about their ideas for content, or like, I'd give this to my nephew for like his gaming channel, or like little things like that I thought were really sweet. But I do want to plug to our next giveaways coming up, and we got a couple in the pipeline. The one running right now is up on Twitter, Threads, and Instagram. It is for 4-day PAX West badges, so immense value. We have a total of 5 passes to give away. I'm doing 2 on Twitter, 2 on Threads, and 1 on Instagram. So if you want to get the best chance, you can hit all those. Debated whether or not I should say 5 across all. I wrote it like 2 and 2 and 1. I don't know what the best way to do it was, but check that out. It's on all those subsequent pages. I'll have stuff. Well, Jenna will kindly link stuff in the description. And I'm gonna pick the winner on Monday and hand that information over. So hit that up if you're interested in that. And if not, keep an eye on our socials because we have other giveaways coming up.
And if you win, you can come see me because I'm going to be at PAX. So I'll be out on the floor just walking around looking at stuff.
Hell yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, so keep an eye out for me.
Back to everyone's favorite segment. Get a load of this! Some guy on his couch yelling back at his wife. Like something's on TV. Get a load of this.
But then they say something really nice. Like, look at this wholesome piece of information.
Look at this beautiful dog!
Yeah. 100%.
What do we have to share this week? What do we got to get a load of this?
One. Do you want me to go first?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, I'll go first. This is a tweet or a Xeet or an X or whatever we're calling it now from at Mea Koopa, Anthony Oliveira, which I thought was interesting. There's kind of like a trend now of the big bad in whatever video game or a tabletop RPG campaign is that capitalism is the big bad, right? But it turns out that this has been something that's been in literature for a very long time, just like the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. Mea Koopa says, the 3rd horseman is commonly known as famine, but he specifically does not blight crops, does not damage food. His weapon is the scales, and destroys not by weather or worm, but by market manipulation. A closer name might be inflation or capitalism or bread fixing, which I thought was super interesting. Our idea of famine through this version of the Bible this translation is just not, it's actually more about like people not being able to afford wheat and seeing the weapons of the scales. Also, anytime that I get to read parts of the Christian Bible that I've never heard before is extra funny for me. So I'm just like, this stuff's wild, man. It's really wild. So yeah, the big bad was always capitalism, even back to the 4 horsemen, even in the Bible.
Makes sense.
Wait, what are the other ones?
Like war,
death. Pestilence, I think, is the
pestilence.
Sure. Good memory. What are the loads we got?
I hate that you said it that way, but I guess I'll go next.
It's like laundry loads. No, think of laundry. Think of us doing laundry here.
I try not to. Get a load of this. All right. Get a load of this. Mine is from the Mario Encyclopedia that I very impulsively and feverishly bought and then did not open for the longest time. But I was reading up on Super Mario Land 2 6 Golden Coins, a game that I've loved for what feels like my lifetime. Played it since around when it came out, played it again since then. Apparently that game has an easy mode, which I did not know about. If you are on the load screen and you hit select, it says easy mode and Mario becomes a little bit smaller. And apparently it makes it so that some of the enemies are easier to kill. I think some of the bosses become one-hit bosses, which is especially fascinating in a game like that that's secretly a little bit challenging, with just like how you have to win, where if you get a game over at the end, like the coins go back to the bosses in a very Soulsian way. Had that game for my whole life and never knew that. Talked to other people that played the game. They didn't know that. So that's my share. I was really surprised by that.
It's really messed up to hide your easy mode.
It's weirdly hidden.
Yeah.
My get a load of this is that Emily Carroll, who, if you're not familiar with her, she's an incredible horror graphic novelist, artist, writer. And she's got a new horror comic coming out. It's been a couple years since her last one, but it's coming out mid-August. It's called A Guest in the House. And I haven't even read it yet, but I'm recommending it because Emily Carroll's work is so incredible. The only thing I don't like about her work is that she's not prolific enough and there's not more of it. So that's my recommendation, is to pre-order A Guest in the House. And in the meantime, if you haven't read Through the Woods, that was, I think, the last graphic novel she did, and that was a while ago. But that is an incredible, if you like Junji Ito, if you like spooky, if you like Angela Carter, like creepy, terrifying horror folklore stories, Emily Carroll, you got to check her out.
I love the summary of this book. I'm on the publisher page. It is wild. Can I read it, Janet?
Please do.
Jenna,
Yeah,
I don't want to step on your.
Please do.
Get a load of this on your load. In Emily Carroll's haunting adult graphic novel story, I Guess in the House, a young woman marries a kind dentist only to realize there's a dark mystery surrounding his former wife's death. Let's go. Oh my god.
Yeah, she does a lot of body horror stuff, so if you don't like teeth stuff, watch out, because this book sounds like it's gonna have some teeth stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta get a load of this from the MinnMax community, straight from the Discord. The one I'm picking is the announcement this week of DreamWorks All-Star Kart Racing. Why not on Mario Kart Week? Talk about this new, from Game Mill Entertainment, one of the leading licensed games developers.
It's called Game Mill?
It's called
Game Mill is the name of the company?
As if we just churn them. Yeah, exactly. It's got Shrek on the cover, but there's Kung Fu Panda in there. DreamWorks has a bunch of animated features. I think they did Bad Guys.
Yeah.
I'm getting some nods. They did Bad Guys. So what's crazy is these games don't exist anymore, but they absolutely do. Boolean, thank you for drawing our attention to the announcement of that title. I really appreciate it.
Some people in the YouTube chat are saying Kyle Hilliard worked there. So he used to work there apparently. Yeah, that's what they're saying.
No. Okay, yeah. It's like, it's still cool. Game Mill's cool.
That's a tough name, and Kyle Hilliard's great.
If they let Kyle Hilliard go, then they can't be that good.
Oh, worked with a D. Okay.
Yes, past tense. Yeah, he doesn't work there anymore. Yeah. I don't think so.
Okay.
All right.
No, he doesn't work there anymore. He works at Game Informer, which is confusing in its own way.
And then finally, my get a load of this is a reality series that I watch this every week. It's called Claim to Fame.
Oh my God.
And it's a competition show.
No.
I can't
where
believe you.
All the people competing are related to somebody famous. And the way you lose is somebody points at you and says, I know who your famous relative is. It's Eddie Murphy. And they're like, is it? And then they're like, the reveal. And then if it is Eddie Murphy, you have to leave the reality show.
Yeah, I've seen clips of this on TikTok.
What's crazy is it's just like game design wise, so poorly designed, because if you are a competitor who has a very famous celebrity and you look like them, you're doomed. You can't win. If your celebrity relative is not that famous, you're in really good shape. So somebody's got a NASCAR relative and nobody knows who it is. They have all the clues, right? There's okay, number 24, it was advertiser was a beer. Who is this? They have no idea. You know what I mean? And so it's just one of the most poorly designed competitive game shows I've ever seen. And I watch that every week.
I kind of love the deductive reasoning of that. It feels like there was a dating show on MTV where everyone supposedly had their perfect match and they had to figure it out what their matches were. And I kind of like the ceremony is just some thinking component, but it sounds like the deductive reasoning is Masked Singer level, where Ken Jeong is it's Mickey Mouse, and it's not. He can't be Mickey Mouse because Mickey Mouse is not a person. Well,
actually, the producers they really mess some people over, right? Where it's they give out hints, and sometimes the hints are hey, he was in, he sat on a green bench in a movie. It's oh, okay, so it's Tom Hanks. Yeah. Sometimes the producers, the hints are actually way too obvious, and they just kind of torpedo a competitor. You lose $100,000, you don't win.
I feel like the prize should be higher in this economy.
I think so too.
They don't need it.
But also, they don't have to do anything. They just say, yeah. Actually, No, the power should be nothing. Actually,
it should be nothing. You're right.
Think about it.
The
I was
like, they're on a show.
Exactly. Yeah, you get to be here another week.
I'm sorry.
I
got so pro people getting money. I forgot these people are probably very, very, very fine off and don't need any help. Actually, no one should get anything.
That's the other thing is like some people aren't. You know what I mean? You can be related to a famous person and not doing that well. You know what I mean?
How related do you have to be to them to be on
really
the show?
Close?
They could be uncles. We got some uncles.
Okay.
They got some uncles, but a lot of them are brother, sister, father, mother.
Okay, yeah, that's a little too close for cash for me. I don't know.
Yeah, one of the host is the fourth Jonas brother, and I think he's probably doing okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People knew who he was, specifically that guy. Like he's like part of their marketing.
He's a host. He's not a contestant. But he's
he's a host.
He's the least famous Jonas brother, so he's the perfect one.
But one of the other Jonas brothers is a co-host. Like that's the kind of dynamic they have.
Yeah.
I think I know his name. He's doing fine. I think
Franklin.
Is it Franklin?
It's Franklin Jonas.
Okay.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah.
I will say, somewhat shifting gears, and I failed to call this out in a more timely fashion because I am not Jeffem, unfortunately. I'm a different Jay. We did not pick a question winner.
Oh my goodness, we do that. Okay, yeah, right. We're capping off this podcast. Let's do it. Let's pick a question winner.
Obviously the towel question did generate a lot of conversation. I liked whatever led to the slam poetry stuff, but of course that's my biases. It's always fun when I see a fellow poet in Discord.
That was the Game Jam question.
It was the Game Jam question, yeah.
I think I'm with Towel. I think the answer is Towel from the vibes I understand on behalf of listening to the show, that you reward the one.
I know
about people airing themselves out.
I know. I hate to say that it was. That's why I'm like, let me throw something that's not Towel. No offense to Towel question asker. You did good work. It's just
the female audience game was a really good question, but I also, as a man, do not want to say we should reward that unless y'all thought that was a good conversation.
I mean, I think there were a lot of good conversations. Like I really liked what Jenna brought up there. I liked the Game Jam one also had some good stuff. I guess Jenna, are you leaning on any of them?
Let's do the Game Jam
okay.
one. Yeah, I like that.
All right, let's do that. Yeah,
thoughtful question. Yeah.
Congrats to Medi Monster. Who it started off like I've been learning game design. Like, good luck, go get it. You know what I mean? Like,
you're a little ominous at first.
I mean, like it's scary to be out there, right? And that's what's so scary to start. And so if you've even started, you've taken the impossible first step. So heck yeah. Speaking of impossible first steps, let's talk about our plugs and promotions here at the end of the podcast. What do we all got to promote this week?
I've got nothing going on. We're like I said, we're talking about doing a spoiler cast. I think that's going to happen next week so that everybody has had a chance to watch it. So keep an eye out for that next week.
Cool. Yeah, I appreciated throughout this conversation how you didn't get too into it. You were basically like surface level for all that stuff. Appreciate that. Yeah,
I'm not usually here.
So please tell us who you are and what you do and where to find you. Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Listen, you can go listen to me on podcasts. My name is Eric Silver. I make a lot of shows. I am the Dungeon Master of Join the Party, an actual play Dungeons & Dragons show. We're currently doing a campaign set in a world of plant and bug people. It's pirates. It's kind of like Redwall and Plants vs. Zombies meets One Piece. It's really fun. It's really fun, and I love doing it. And I'm also the best DM in podcasting, so you're really going to enjoy that. I also do other shows like Games and Feelings and Games Advice Show, which Janet has been on, which Jenna has been on, which Ben Hansen has been on, which Jacob Geller has been on. So anyone from MinnMax, please come on. It's always fun. It's always fun to do this together. And tell me about it, which is kind of like a Taskmaster, but for podcasts, where people need to come on and bring the thing that they love the most, and they have to go through our maniacal game show as run by a multi-billionaire. Adil Rafai is our multi-billionaire, the Chicago improver. You might know him. And if any of y'all are in the UK, I'm doing a live show in Manchester in a few weeks on August 19th. I'm pretty sure August 19th at 7:30 at the Empty Space in which is a performance venue in Media City, UK, in Manchester. I'm doing it with Amanda McLaughlin, my wife, who also makes podcasts, Jasper Cartwright, who does the show Three Black Halflings, and a special UK guest. If any of y'all are out there, please, I'd love to see you. And you can find me on the internet on Twitter at L_Silvero, And also, I'm on TikTok at Eric the Silver. I've really been enjoying TikTok. It's been so much fun.
TikTok fun.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
That was a nice personal promotion. That was really good. What is the live show?
Live show, it's for Games and Feelings. So Games and Feelings, we usually answer game advice questions for any types of games. Video games, tabletop RPG, sports, board games, escape rooms, etc. And then we're going to do
competition shows?
Yeah. Oh, competition shows are on there. Yeah, we talked a lot about like Love Island and Survivor.
Great, awesome.
Nice.
That totally counts as a game. So we're going to answer some advice questions, and also we're going to do some game show stuff as well. But it's also like it's the first time I've ever been to the United Kingdom, so I'm super stoked about that. And it's certainly the first time that I have ever performed in over in a different continent. I'm also the head of creative of Multitude, which is a podcast collective, studio, and ad sales provider. So I'm doing it like on behalf of a bunch of shows as well. So it's kind of just like a whole thing. So the whole conversation about like art and money and making a living in digital creation, that means quite a lot to me as another person who's supported by ads and audience support and Patreon and Memberful and all that stuff. Like that stuff really matters to me. And I remember just like MinnMax, when y'all got ads, I was excited for you and like trying to figure that out. And we talked to Ben a little bit. So I mean, I love being on here. Again, I'm a patron. I love listening to the podcast. And please, I'll come back. So I'm moving on Tuesday, so my background has been all of my boxes. Usually it looks way better, but I had Ditto Vanillish here the entire time.
Nice.
Emotional support.
Facing you even. It looked like when you picked it up, you turned it. So I get the impression that Ditto was facing you the entire time.
It was right here the whole time, just looking at me. But thank you so much for having me. This has been so much fun.
Yeah. Yeah, and also thank you for allowing me to guest host. Stumble through this one. Next week's going to be even better, no doubt. To everyone,
great, Kyle.
I'm trying.
That cross bit in the beginning was bad, but you really bounced back from it.
Thank you. Like, man, dude, I really beefed that. But I'll be back here next week and for 3 more weeks until your regular host, Ben Hansen, has returned. So until then, be good, have fun, let's go.